Norcat Keys the Nightmare, hello. Good morning. It's Instagram time. Are you ready for this? I don't think you're ready for this, Jelly. Maybe you are. Who am I to know? Who can ever be sure, really? Really? When you really think about it? Raccoon, hello. I'm doing okay. You're making cool sweets. What does that mean? I can't eat that right now. I'm sorry. Alright, one moment. Never ending well with the subscription. As resub. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Okay, hold on one sec. Hello, it is I. Comfy Catboy, but the lawyer. Comfy lawyer boy. And here is my best friend, Herlock Sholmes. Do you like that? Do you like that? What? Was that wrong? Am I making a reel by accident? Oh, I think I am. Heck. I didn't mean to do. I meant to make a story, y'all. Have a bite. Okay, I gotta do that again. I'm sorry. Hello, it is I, the best lawyer in the land. Comfy lawyer boy. Do you like that? What about this? That's Herlock Sholmes. He's also got a finger. It's true. It's true! Okay. Every Instagram story, y'all, just by the way, is I like almost always go to the. Oh, what is happening? I just want to add a sticker, please. I always like aim the camera at my face tracking. Boop. Hell yeah. Okay. All right. Oh my god, I got a paid sponsorship to play Marvel Strike Force. Wow, I'll definitely do that. I'll definitely really for sure do that. That'll go good and great and lovely. Comfy and Sholmes, attorney at law. Kid named Finger, Hamburger, hello. Hello. Hamburger. Hamburguesa. I feel like I've forgotten something, but I don't think that I have. Sometimes I still forget that I don't use my hand tracker anymore. And additionally, my webcam. Neither of these things are used by me any longer. How are you all doing? Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. Baby. It's time for lawyering. Let me close Photoshop. How about? I don't need to save this. Thank you, though. Thank you, Photoshop, for the concern. Thank you, Photoshop. You always have my back, Photoshop, until you crash. And then, Photoshop, you no longer have my back. Shark, hello. Good morning. Ugh. What's everyone's favorite? How do you all like your hamburgers / cheeseburgers? Tell me. Hello. It is I. Jax, hello. Good morning. A burger with cucumber. Really? I've never had that. My favorite burger is if we're really going all out, I like a bacon blue burger. Now, let me just explain also. I'm not one of those cowboys that's like, hey, I need bacon on literally everything or I will die. Sorry, hello. But bacon blue and then like buffalo bacon, like buffalo blue is really what it is, like buffalo blue, but bacon also is fine. But like any sort of like low quality bacon, get that out of there. I don't want it. I don't need it. With spinach, ketchup, mayo, onion, and tomato. Spinach. That's interesting. Bacon blue is my favorite. If any restaurant has, if we're eating at a place and they have the bacon blue, I'm getting it. Or the buffalo blue, I guess. I mean, but you can usually, it's usually a bacon blue, and then you just ask for buffalo. I love buffalo, but it destroys my tummy. Me too. But that's okay. Sometimes. As a treat, I'll destroy my organs. For fun. I hope you're all having a lovely Thursday. Let's get right into it. I don't know if we'll be able to beat this part of it today, but we're gonna try. I'm gonna do my best. So I have to load up the game now, which I'm gonna be fussy about every time I do it. But it is what is required of me. I can't load it. I can't preload it. There it is. I know it supports an autosave feature. Oh, it's put me. Oh, look at that. Heck yeah, Clara. Yo, you should play this. This game is fun as hell. I hope you're feeling a little better also. It put us right in the room that we were in. That's fun. Okay, let me load up Coopsworth with the follow. Thank you so much. Welcome to the Mew crew. So last where we left off. Yeah, we're gonna start it from our save position. So we're on a boat. It's going fast, Dan. Thank you. Hello, how are you, Coops? Coops. So yesterday on stream in the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles or whatever this game is called, our just friend, or definitely just a friend, was murdered by someone, and everybody thinks it's us again. So we have to prove our innocence and also figure out who done it. It's a locked room mystery. Ow! Your model's so cool, thank you. My favorite anime, my top 3 is Hunter x Hunter, Erased, and Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop. Beep, 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 beep. Oh, I got it. Oh! Ah! I was waiting. There seems to be a bit of a theme here. All right, so there's also a woman in the room next to us. There is an air vent connecting the 2 rooms. It'll probably recap some of this right now. She is pretending to be a Russian man, but she is a Russian young woman ballerina. Yeah, his husband, his best friend, his partner died. All right, here we go. I wish we hadn't been thrown out like that. I wish we'd managed to find some clue as to what the speckled band might be. We didn't manage to investigate at all. All we did was, like, solve it. And also, Sherlock Holmes is in this game, but he's called Sherlock Sholmes. And he's the best, and I love him. And I imagine. And we're on, like, a Russian ship going to England, not America. And we won't be able to go for a while longer. We'll never get past that sailor guarding the door. He's clearly glaring at us as if to say, don't even think about it. Oh, wait a minute. What is it? Well, what happened to our great detective friend? Where did he go? Oh, yes. He's completely disappeared. When did he do that? And I'm also in shackles, because they think I did it. He slipped away as quietly as the wind, but not before ensuring these were securely back on my wrists. What is this? Is this just a mouse trap? Ah, a trap for catching mice. Yes, we have plenty of those back home in Japan. Although they seem to be using a lump of chalk or something as bait. Let me see. Yes, I think that's what is called cheese. It's made from the milk of cows. They don't have cheese in Japan. Well, they do now, probably, but I wonder what it tastes like. You can't eat it, Naruto-san. The trap will snap shut on your fingers. Really? But, I suppose you're right. It's also just been out for, like, ever. You weren't actually going to try it, were you? All I've had to eat for the past couple of weeks is Kazuma's leftovers. You don't know how hungry I've been in that wardrobe. Poor you. I'll find a snack for you later. So we're also a stowaway is what it is. So, our definitely not boyfriend snuck us on this, this boat to take us with him to learn about law. Definitely not also about love, just law. First class cabin number 1. Yes, that's our cabin. Not our cabin. It's Kazuma-sama's. Sorry? Your accommodation is confined to the wardrobe inside the cabin. You know how to make a stowaway feel small, don't you? As small as the wardrobe I've been calling home. Anyway, I wonder if Inspector Hosonaga has managed to uncover any new clues. Yes, we should probably find him and ask. Can I can move, I guess. I love learning about the law with my totally not boyfriend. Y'all, me too. The laws of love. It looks like they're still investigating in here. Yes, on that subject. I wonder if Inspector Hosonaga is unscathed. What do you mean, unscathed? Surely you haven't forgotten, have you, Naruhodo-san? Don't you remember what he said about you allowing you to He was going to talk to the captain about it. He said he'd lay his life on the line for you. They totally kissed at night. Maybe they might have kissed during the day too. Oh yes, being a stowaway is a crime. Teaching about law while doing a crime is pretty counterproductive. It's true, but at the same time, love knows no law. But I'm sure he was exaggerating. Let's see what he has to say for himself. He might have some new information for us. You never know. Where are you? Are you in this room? There you are. Hello. Uh-oh, he's looking a little beat up. Oh, no! No! Ah, you're back. Inspector! What happened to you? Your faces! Please, don't worry about it. They're just scratches. It's just a flesh wound. Made by a bear, maybe? When I told the captain that I'd given you permission to investigate, he told me he'd pummel me with his fists and then toss me overboard. What? But the pummeling was over in a flash, and he must have decided against throwing me overboard. Though it was nothing, really. Looks like he wasn't joking when he said he'd lay his life on the line if he had to. Well, thanks to your efforts, we now know a little about the neighboring cabin. Cabin? Yes, so I understand. Oh! I bumped into a man claiming to be a great detective a little while ago. I think his name was something like Herlock Sholmes. I don't think he was German, though. Ah, that explains it. Shall we compare notes, then? We can tell you what we found out. Maybe this is the recap. Yes, let's do it. What? Nikolina Pavlova, she's in the cabin next door? She's the Russian ballerina. Oh, do you know who she is? Please, what self-respecting ballet fan wouldn't know that graceful angel? Oh, okay. Ahem. He's also got a bloody mouth cough. I don't know why. Oops, I think I'm upset him there. Well, that tells us the neighboring cabin is unrelated to the case, at least. Oh, how? Because angels don't go around committing crimes, do they? Oops, now I've definitely upset him. Inspector, has your investigation in here proved fruitful? Hold on a second. I'm gonna move my camera. Okay. If I'm honest, there's very little more I can do. I won't be so, turned around. Our duty is to make sure the scene isn't disturbed, ready to hand over to the Hong Kong police. So I'm just keeping watch here, trying not to take my eyes off the job. Oh, I see. Ah, there is one thing. I do have a small piece of new information for you. Oh, what? Yes, do tell us, Inspector, please. New information. Oh, hello. You're gonna stream tomorrow. Yo, hell yeah. That's exciting. What is this new information you have, Inspector? It's this. Buria's medical officer has finished his examination of the body. The Buria is the ship we're on. I managed to obtain the report. Oh, Kazuma's post-mortem report. Kazuma-sama. So, what was the cause of death? Damage to the Cervical vertebrae is what's written on the report.
His neck was broken?
Yes, and it would seem so. There was no obvious wounds or other signs of injury. So at first, I think they were considering poison. But it turns out they found no trace of poison in his system at all.
Well, what weapon was used then?
Nothing has been found as of yet. The fact that there are no signs of a wound suggests it may have been a blunt object, something that wouldn't leave a mark.
Oh, I see. All the body's nerves run through the spine to the brain. Strong enough impact to the neck could induce death. It is a possibility, and no obvious wound would be left. Poor Kazuma.
I have a second copy of the report. If it might be useful, you're welcome to have it.
Really? Are you sure?
Yes, it's fine. I trust you. Word of advice for himbos who cook. Do not place ice cream on a crepe that is still hot. Uh-oh! It'll melt. Snapping a neck is pretty extreme and very personal. After all, if I didn't trust you, I'd never have agreed to you leaving this cabin in the first place, would I? Oh no, Nora, I'm sorry.
Postmortem report has been added to the thing.
Excuse me.
Oh, Mr. Sholmes was here, was he?
Oh! Drifter Boy! Oh, Drifter Boy, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Mule Crew. How are you?
Dr. Drax is on the case.
Yes, he seemed to be enjoying himself a little too much as he crept around about on the floor investigating. He's like a little Spider-Man, but he suddenly left. I suppose he must have become bored. You love my color palette, thank you. How are you? Hello. Did he say anything at all? Actually, now that you mention it, yes. Just one thing, but he practically shouted it. Shoe polish was all he said.
Shoe polish? I wonder what he meant.
It was when he was over there by that piece of broken glass. Do you see? That do be looking like shoe polish.
Perhaps he was talking about this brick-colored mark, do you think?
Yes, that must be it.
But how can Mr. Sholmes know that it's shoe polish?
That leaves me cold, I'm afraid. I have no idea.
What is it, Sasato-san? Well, Kazuma-sama was wearing leather shoes with a very dark tan hue.
Dark tan? Sort of dark brownish red, then.
Yes, a little like the color of red wine, but darker. I often repaired them for him.
Our lovable crime scene thief, so honest, brave, and true.
Oh, does that mean
that this mark was made by the polish of Kazuma's shoes as they scuffed on the floor? Rectal Princess! Oh god! Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Mew Crew. How are you? I hope you're okay. The mark on the floor has been added to the court record. What up, baby? That's really all I can tell you at this stage. I really should return to my post. My fellow crewmen's eyes are boring into the back of my head.
Yes, that might be for the best. Thank you. Poor Inspector. You look exhausted.
Oh, no. Well, I feel terrible that I failed to protect Asogi-san. It was my responsibility. Of course, my pain is nothing compared to yours. You were his friends, and maybe more. The truth is, I seem to have had a heavy head ever since I woke this morning.
A heavy head? That's interesting. My head's still throbbing, too.
Yeah, we like, slept through the night, like, way too deeply. No, he just got beat up. He just got beat up. Alright, let's examine the shoe polish again, maybe.
It really is such a beautiful color, this glass.
It looks like whatever it has broken clean in two. But the other half is nowhere to be seen. And then there's the brick-colored mark. Which is shoe polish, according to the great detective you seem to know all about.
I suppose it must be from Kazuma-sama's shoes.
Maybe, but what I'd like to know is, how can the detective be so sure it's shoe polish and not something else?
Because he's a great detective, of course.
It's hardly a reason, is it? Do I really just have to look at all the new stuff again? No, most of this has been checked off still. Let's look at some of the new stuff. There's Krillic. What? So this ventilator joins to Ms. Pavlova's cabin.
Yes, that's right.
And just a few minutes before he died, Kazuma saw something emerging from it. The speckled band, as he described it. It's Russian, I think, is the idea. But it might not be Russian. It's probably not Russian. Thank you for the lurk, Rose.
If only Ms. Pavlova had been able to shed some light on it, but she seemed as baffled as we are.
Yes, I wonder if she's telling us everything, though.
I'm not sure.
I know most people aboard would say the same about me, but... Oh, I didn't know. Oh, is that what the letters are called? Oh, thank you. I didn't know that. I don't think I've ever seen that word before, actually. I just always called them Russian. I guess American letters are like the Latin alphabet, so... But we don't ever call it that, either. There's something about that woman that doesn't sit right with me. Ooh. Excuse me. This is where Kazuma spent his final moments writing in his diary.
1:23 a.m. I hear a faint whistling sound. 1:35 a.m. It looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill.
Looking at his writing here on this page, it's almost impossible to believe that he's gone. Trying to learn Russian and failing, it's probably pretty difficult, right?
Kazuma-sama left us a valuable clue in these words, I'm sure of it. We have to solve this mystery, Naruhodo-san.
We will. Zibaldi? So it's clear these letters are written with the ink that was somehow spilt on the floor. Starting with languages that have a new alphabet? Yeah, no, for sure. And they spell the Russian words for wardrobe.
It does seem to be an unambiguous pointer to you, Naruhodo-san, as you were sleeping in there.
Hackagon, hello, Coops with the sub. Hey, thank you so much. I'm glad you're enjoying your time here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. But to be truly unambiguous, it should have just spelt out my name, don't you think?
Well, either way, one fact remains. It's hard to imagine that Kazuma-sama would have written his last words or word in Russian.
Which begs the question of who did write it. You, hello, hello. You love my... Oh, yeah, Coopsworth is a good name. If you guys are having a good time, just as a reminder, I do have a Discord. It's a beautiful place full of lovely people. And we'd love to see you there. The Russian words... The trunk is the same. This is the same. All the books provided for passengers occupying this cabin, neatly arranged on the shelf. Now, I'm going to just point out, so I played the first few cases. I haven't beaten this game yet, but I'm just going to point out the observation that in the other cabin, these were all knocked over still, much like they were when we started this case. Sasato fixed it for us. They were all over the place when we first looked around, if you remember. Oh, yes, and you tidied them up, didn't you? That was Sasato a second ago.
You have to look after the ship's property. Unruly behavior in the cabins leads to damage.
But it really wasn't me who knocked them over.
Well, anyway, I feel much better now that they're neatly lined up. I can't relax when things are untidy.
Is it M? Okay. The table, the this, the duo. Let's talk to him, I guess. Nice girl voice, thank you.
You, where did you go?
Oh, sorry, I just went to the next door cabin to invest it.
Why? Who gave you permission for this?
Well, and I mean, Seaman Hosonaga did.
That new Japanese, was it? Later I will roll him into ball and throw him in cold room.
Woo, he's gone back to guarding the door.
I hope Inspector Hosonaga doesn't find himself in too much trouble on our account.
He's really gone out of his way to help us, hasn't he? When we get back to Japan, we'll have to take him for a steak at Le Carnival.
That could be a very long time from now, Naruto-san.
Oh, okay. And then this. These are the rules of passage for travel aboard the SS Burya.
Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden.
So by bringing her pet on board, Miss Pavlova has broken the rules. We don't know what kind of animal it is yet. I don't know if you picked that up, but some car just went crazy outside.
She called it her friend, didn't she?
Hold on one sec. The wild bear. Oh my god. Yes, although we don't know what form this friend takes as yet.
I'm almost certain that whatever it is, it's inside the traveling case inside her cabin.
My friend, there's more to this than it seems, I think. Is that really, like... Maybe I'm just supposed to leave. Oh, okay, yeah.
Ah! Look, Naruto-san! The seaman Stroganoff is gone!
Strong enough?
The burly Russian sailor who is always crossing his arms and glaring at us.
All these Russian names are impossible to remember. La la la. What's this? Did you hear that? Sounded like someone singing. La 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 la. I did it the great detective way. This is Sholmes.
Miss caroling. I know that lark-like voice.
Well, never mind that now. This is a golden opportunity for us.
Yes, you're right. We must seize it. Let's get inside Miss Pavlova's cabin while we can and investigate.
Definitely. Before that stringy knot crewman comes back or whatever.
It's Stroganoff, not Stringy Knot.
Let's move to that. Oh, the case is open. Miss Pavlova isn't back yet. Sato-san. Oh, where's she gone? Hey, what are you doing? Big hello. Good morning. Those are private things.
There's not a moment to waste, Naruto-san. We must investigate as quickly as we can.
I suppose you're right, for Kazuma's sake.
Not just for Kazuma-sama.
What do you mean?
Can't be long now until we arrive at port in Hong Kong. I don't want you to be in those handcuffs when we get there.
14 days? It feels like longer than that. Really?
We must solve this case, Naruto-san, by ourselves if we have to.
Yes, we will. 2 years, Pika, in a couple days. Oh my gosh. Yeah, let's examine the stuff. All the books have toppled over together. Look, every single one. 2 months, 3 days.
Do you think that's a god of the sea, perhaps? He's toppled though, too.
It's exactly the same as the bookcase next door. In Kazuma's cabin.
Perhaps Miss Pavlova was practicing a difficult ballet pose and fell against the bookcase?
I don't know. Would she really be practicing ballet on the same night she ran away from her ballet company?
Alright then. It must have been you. You lost your temper and knocked them all over in a fit of rage.
Not everything bad that happens on the ship is because of me, you know.
Well, anyway, I'll set them all straight again in here too. I don't like seeing things in disarray.
Excuse me. Ah, yes, they've displayed in this cabin too. Look, the SS Burya's rules of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabin. Pets are strictly forbidden. Bro, it's a year and 8 months. Oh my goodness. Can't stay for the stream because I'm not feeling well. You feel better. Oh my goodness, hamburger. Have a healing hamburger. I don't know if that's cannibalism or not. But you feel better.
I suppose Miss Pavlova realized that she needed to keep the contents of her case a secret after she read this. Her special friend, I mean.
I wonder where her friend has disappeared to now. She's probably having fun exploring the ship, I imagine.
I just hope Steven Stroganoff doesn't find it and throw it overboard.
Oh yes, so do I. Oh! Alright, we'll check her personal things.
Naruto-san, are you there?
Sorry, I'm right here. Yes, why? Welcome back, Jax.
Oh, good. Oh, you might have climbed into the wardrobe when I wasn't looking. There's no place like home.
Believe me, I don't have some strange compulsion to jump inside every wardrobe I see, you know.
Well, anyway, I'm not sure anyone could fit inside this one. It's full of beautiful outfits. I suppose they're all stage costumes.
I was rather hoping we might find Ms. Pavlova's friend hiding in there, but no such luck. The band? There's one of these next to the bed in Kazuma's cabin, too.
Yes, it's a bell cord. I can't resist.
Now everyone knows we're here. She barely hesitated there. She gave it a good tug, too.
No, I didn't actually expect anyone to come.
We don't want them to. We're trying to investigate in secret. She's silly. She's silly. I love her. So this ventilator connects to Kazuma's cabin next door.
Yes, although what a fool a shipbuilder must be to open a ventilator into another room.
Ah, maybe it's that so that if there's a gas leak next door, the occupant of this cabin would notice and raise the alarm.
Or the occupants of both cabins would die of gas poisoning.
That is a possibility. Anyway, last night Kazuma wrote that he saw a speckled band coming out of this ventilator. Okay. That's the door. We got a plate on the ground.
I wonder what this little saucer is doing on the floor.
Yes, it doesn't look like it's been dropped. Or like it was put there deliberately.
Ah, do you think there could be a leak in the roof just above here?
What? A leak?
Is this ship quite safe?
I'm sure that even if there's a little leak in the roof, it doesn't mean the whole ship is gonna sink.
No, you're right. Of course you're right.
She's really trying to persuade herself, isn't she? Tea?
It would seem this teapot is empty.
So the natural conclusion is that the Russians are a very thirsty people.
Or, because Miss Pavlova only came into this cabin last night, she hasn't had the chance to make any tea yet. I mean, it could be either.
It's definitely that they're excessively thirsty. I'd lay 1,000 to 1 on it. They're getting real silly.
You're rather obstinate, aren't you, Naruto-san?
The desk. There's just a few books on the desk, nothing else by the looks of it.
Well, Miss Pavlova only ran away from the ballet last night. She's hardly occupied this cabin for any time at all.
That's true. I wonder what kind of books she likes to read.
Let me see. Yes, I see. It would seem that Miss Pavlova enjoys reading books written in Russian.
Thanks, I probably think I knew that.
It's rude to ask too much of people, Naruto-san. Kindly remember that.
She's getting so feisty.
I suppose every cabin has a waste paper basket.
Shall we have a little look and see what's been thrown away?
Naruto-san! It's poor etiquette to go siphoning through someone's rubbish, you know.
Those eyes. She's looking at me like I'm a piece of rubbish now.
However, these are special circumstances, I think.
Exactly, we have no choice. What's inside? There's hardly anything in there at all.
Oh!
Gosh, I'm yawning.
Well, that's a little disappointing.
Oops. Ah, shoot. No. I didn't want to. No! How do I skip it? Ba, 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 ba. Okay. The chair, okay.
Oh my! Miss Pavlova's case is open!
Completely empty inside, but according to the great detective's great deduction, She was hiding her special friend in there.
Yes, a friend that she had to keep secret.
Because you're not allowed to bring animals aboard the SS Burya. I wonder what kind of animal she had in there. And more to the point, where is it now? That's a good question that I don't have a good answer to. Is that everything? Baby, baby, baby. Oh, the door, I guess. This cabin door has the same simple sort of bolted latch that our cabin door has. If the bolt is drawn across... What? If the bolt's drawn across, there's no way anyone could enter the cabin from outside.
Yes, it's not a particularly heavy-duty bolt, is it? But still, it wouldn't slide across of its own accord, would it?
No, and the door is made of metal, so there's no chance of trickery using magnets to unbolt it from the outside.
And it seals up perfectly, too, to stop any seawater coming in. You couldn't use the method you told me of passing a thread through a crack around the closed door either.
I seem to know a lot of tricks for opening doors. I'm starting to see why they suspect me. They're really more... What did I miss? What have I missed? We got that. The dresser. Really? Maybe that's it. Usually there's like... Once I find everything, there's like some kind of a ding or a plot or something, you know. But maybe that's just it, baby. Christian, hello, how are you? Okay, I guess let's leave. I don't know if I've missed something or not, but no. Oh. There's stuff to examine out here again. New. Oliver's cabin.
This could be our chance.
I know, we already went inside. I'm doing fine. How about you? I'm doing great. We're having a great time with this murder mystery game.
Investigate every license in that cabin.
Oh! Hi!
Oh, it's Mr. Sholmes, look!
Wow, you never know where he's gonna turn up next, do you?
He seems to be stealing a look at something as he sings to himself.
La 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 ray, I did it the great detective way. He's still singing. Do you think he hasn't noticed us?
Or he's simply in extremely high spirits.
He's got a gun. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when the yard bit up more than it could chew. Welcome back, Nightmare. Do it all when there was doubt. It's lucky Herlock was about. Excuse me. He's got it right. It's right there. Right there. Solved it all and I stood tall. I did it the great detective way. Mr. Sholmes! Ah! What is it? You want to fight? Honestly, interrupting a fellow when he's singing, and I was just about to reach the climactic finish. Sorry, I thought you were never going to stop, so I figured now was as good a time as any. I very nearly dropped to the floor with one of my famous right hooks. Dropped you to the floor. Alright, I get the picture. Now, could you put those fists away?
Mr. Sholmes, you seem to be examining something before we interrupted you.
Ah, yes, that. I was immersed in study of the ship's log as penned by this stockily built crewman, who's usually on guard here.
Oh yes, the ship's log.
Did you find anything useful from it?
Well, after 2 a.m. this morning, the majority of the entries are blank.
Which means that there was nothing to report. Nothing of note happened, so...
Ah ha ha ha! Ah ha ha ha! You truly are a student from the land of the rising sun. You've been utterly blinded by it. Ah ha ha!
Sorry?
Your logic, my boy, is inverted.
Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes?
Observe the other pages, and all shall become clear. It would seem the same crewman oft stands sentry in the first-class passageway. And he has an almost religious practice of recording nothing to report every half hour.
Oh, he writes that in every 30 minutes?
Nothing to report.
Precisely. Put simply, the seaman writes nothing to report when there is just that. And yet,
The ship's log from last night is largely blank. He didn't even write nothing to report.
Do you mean...
yes, there were circumstances afoot last night, which led to the seaman being absent from his post.
What kind of circumstances? What happened?
Why is he called Sholmes? Basically legal reasons. In the Japanese version of this game, he's just Sherlock Holmes. But the American copyright situation made it difficult to do that, so they just changed his name. They just called him Sherlock Sholmes. That remains a mystery for now, but we can be sure something significant took place. So significant that it caused the seaman to forget his regular habit of scribing nothing to report in the log. These are important details. I would stake my life on it. You must log the ship's log in your mental file. Ship's log has been logged. Now that deduction was worthy of the great detective.
Ah, you're starting to understand what my way is, I see. What makes Sholmes Sholmes. Brilliant. Ah ha ha ha!
Oh, ouch. What is it? Are you hurt?
Oh, don't worry yourself. I seem to be afflicted with a throbbing head this morning for some reason. Nothing more. Well, my friends, till our next encounter.
Bye. He's still singing to himself. I can hear it as he wanders down the passageway.
What do you mean, Christian?
Is something wrong, Sasada-san? You seem lost in thought.
It's just... well, I feel the same.
Sorry?
Ever since I woke this morning, I've had something of a headache. A sort of continuous throbbing.
Oh, you too? Well, now what? Because they made Sholmes? I mean, whatever it took to get this game released, right? It's locked. I can't open it.
Oh, well, that stands to reason. No one wants to let the murderer escape.
Gosh, she gave me a very stern look when she said that. Alright, the mount. Let's go back into the room, how about? Maybe that shook something loose. Ah, okay.
Ah, what's that?
Whir, whir.
Shut down the engines immediately. Vessel sighted a quarter-mile forward. Full stop, hard to starboard. All hands brace for impact.
What the?
I think we're about to crash into another ship.
What?
I can't stand.
Sato-san, hold on to me.
Ah!
Why does Cozy Catgirl and Comfy Catboy sound familiar to each other? Because we're a pair. Sato-san, are you alright? Are you injured at all?
I think I'm fine. Thank you, Naruto-san.
Everything's a mess. Looks like we avoided a collision.
I think.
Yes, the ship has come to a stop.
Oh my goodness, what about you, Naruto-san? Are you hurt?
No, I'm fine.
Hello, is anyone in there? Shout if you need assistance.
Well, that sounds like...
Victor Zanaga!
That's you in there? Naruto-san, unbolt the door, quickly.
What? The bolt?
Look at that!
The door's bolted. Did you do that, Sasato-san?
No, I didn't touch it.
Well, that's strange. How did... And look at all the books. They're just like they were before again.
Interesting.
Naruto-san, aren't you going to open the door and let the inspector in?
Better tidy this place up first.
Just a minute.
A violent emergency stop has solved one mystery, at least, in a very vivid way. But I knew that what awaited us on the other side of the cabin door would not be pleasant. I hurried around tidying up the cabin with a new sense of foreboding in my heart. Ah! Ah! To be continued. Oh my god. That was a little short segment. I would love to save my progress. Let's do it, baby. Ooh. We're done. We did it. We did it. All right. Gamer Fuel, Monster, and Doritos. What flavor Doritos? Are they Red Bull flavored Doritos? Somehow, the door to the cabin we were in ended up bolted after we made an emergency stop. Yeah, it's not over, but... Sato-san took a deep breath and gently slid back the bolt. You, what are you doing in Miss Pavlova's quarters? You both look unhurt? Good. Yes, we're fine. Thank you. What on earth happened? We heard something about how we were going to collide with another ship. Yes, it appears to have been a false report, though. Oh, how did that happen? There's a dense fog outside, so it's extremely difficult to see. Someone must have thought he saw a ship ahead. This person obviously triggered the alarm, and that's why we made an emergency stop. Cool Rant's the best flavor. We're one of the best. Everything is chaos. Passengers are screaming. Crew are running everywhere. This first-class area is the only quiet part of the ship at the moment.
Oh, I see.
Oh, I see. Someone triggered the alarm? Does that mean that someone pressed that button outside?
Ah! You wicked intruder, dressed all in black. You are the devil.
That's not what her voice was. Hold on. Sorry, me? I've been called a lot of things before, but devil is a first.
You opened my traveling case.
This is her voice.
How could you?
What? No, we didn't touch it.
That's right, Miss Pavlova. It was already open when we came into your cabin.
Inspector. Yes?
Arrest this man. I know he did it. He is a criminal. He is not enough that he killed a man.
He is a stowaway as well. If Vixen promises not to steal chicken, do you believe?
Vixen like the literal fox.
Take him away. He is a trespasser as well as everything else.
Stowing away, trespassing, killing. She is right, you are devil.
Doesn't look good, does it?
There is cell below deck. Throw him in. Tomorrow we dock in Hong Kong. Then we give you straight to police.
Wait, a cell? Please, Inspector Hosonaga, is there nothing you can do?
This is a Russian vessel. I really have no jurisdiction here. After my last effort to appeal to the captain's good nature, I think I'm out of options. Each sailor reminds me of the Pokemon Sailor Trainer class. They're big boys. They throw out little guys, though.
This is terrible.
This is a real crisis. I've got to find a solution.
Immediately.
Okay. What can I look at, baby, baby? I mean, I can confuse Buffalo and Boston, but there is no Boston sauce. Ow! I just need to focus. I just need to keep calm and focus on the task at hand.
Get some help.
Which is investigating.
Don't touch my things.
I think I need to,
You want me to show you where the crawfish hibernates?
Hiya! Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think you're doing?
Well, everyone's attacking me. Well, isn't there anyone who can help me out of this mess? Stop. He's so dumb. I love him. What the? What are you doing up there? Mr. Sholmes, he's got the crown on. Whoa. Naturally, I was analyzing what a weight of 20,000 rubles feels like on one's head. Have I not told you that as a detective, it is my business to know what other people do not? Oh, this isn't mere tomfoolery, my boy. Oh, no, no. Well, why are you hanging from that hook before then? Why were you doing that? Isn't it obvious? To properly assess the weight of 20,000 rubles, naturally. I wish to determine if it would bend that conceited-looking hook on the wall, so full of brag and bounce. I wish I had this much Riz Cozy. He's like 110% Riz and 0% anything else.
I never know whether to take this man seriously or not.
Ah, you again, the great detective. Ah, Inspector, I confess I've been looking for you. I have something to report to you most urgently. Well, you might try looking for me somewhere other than the hook on the wall next time. What is to report? Speak! An urgent report from a great detective can mean but one thing. Yes, the case of the curious murder that took place last night here on this vessel, the steamship Burya, has been solved by me, naturally.
Oh.
What?
Really?
Yes, I have eliminated all other possibilities. No other explanations exist. So allow me to illuminate all your minds. For I am about to reveal my great detective's greatly admired great deduction to the case.
I am enthralled. It's so good.
Ah, you have solved it. Even Hedgehog understands this case. We all know who was responsible for killing student boy this morning when we found criminal in wardrobe. It is this stowaway. He has handcuffs to prove it.
I didn't do it.
Trouble is, there doesn't appear to be anyone else who could have killed the victim. Because, as everyone knows, the cabin door was bolted shut from the inside. That means the culprit must be someone who is inside the cabin.
Yes, it's what's called a locked room mystery in detective stories.
The locked room, that is point.
The room was locked.
Well, I can't deny that. Quite wholesome. Yeah, everybody loves cozy. Everybody loves cozy. There's no way that bolt could have been drawn across from outside the cabin.
You are all quite mistaken. The cabin next door is not a so-called locked room at all.
What? What?
Oh yes, there is another entrance. An entrance used last night by the culprit in order to gain access to the cabin, despite the locked door. What other entrance? We never discovered one. Why, it gapes open-mouthed at you even as we speak. The ventilator, man.
The ventilator?
You think this is funny? I cannot even put my arm through that hole.
That's because your arms are as thick as tree trunks. You're suggesting that the culprit entered and left the victim's cabin through that tiny opening? It's not possible.
Ah, but it is. And last night, the victim even witnessed the intruder in the act of passing through the ventilator.
Mr. Sholmes, do you mean... Are you referring to the words Kazuma-sama wrote in his diary? 1:23 a.m. I can hear a faint whistling sound. 1:35, the speckled band.
Precisely, my dear madam.
But what does it mean? What is this speckled band?
The answer to that particular conundrum is in this very cabin.
Where is it? Show us.
Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing?
There is a distinct element of danger, but fear not, I am ready. What I am about to expose for you all to see will shock you to your cores. Behold! Yeah!
Ah! What the?
Ha-ha!
He's got a snake head.
Allow me to introduce you all to the band, the speckled band.
A snake?
Indubitably.
Treat myself to 500 honey sticks. I'm gonna tell you a story real quick. I ordered some things on Amazon today, and Cozy and I share an Amazon account, right? So she had in the cart, I just added the 3 things I needed to the cart, and then I saw that the total was like a lot. It was like a ton, and I was like, what else? That doesn't make sense. What else is in here? And I saw in the cart, like, just like as a maybe, as like a for later, she had this like $80. It was just a honey stick bundle. And I messaged her, I was like, I'm gonna put this on save for later for you. It made me laugh. I wasn't expecting it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Mr. Sholmes, just one thing. Pray, what troubles you? Well, that snake isn't really speckled, is it? Looks more stripy, wouldn't you say? Hmm?
Yes, you're right. I think in this case you'd have to call it the striped band, wouldn't you?
You both see and observe with distinction, however. Do you not think this is precisely the trap into which the culprit wishes you to fall? No.
Oh my goodness, really? It's a trap?
How exactly? I think perhaps it is time I explain the intricacies of my train of thought. Are you ready, Ms. Pavlova?
I'm sorry for the young man who died, but that is all. His death has nothing to do with me. The whole thing has nothing to do with me.
There are 2 conclusions I have drawn from the facts. Number 1. Last night, your friend infiltrated the victim's cabin.
Ah.
And number 2, the same friend was responsible for the victim losing his life.
Watermelon honey and blue raspberry bussin' on God.
No.
Anytime we find a place like a farmer's market or like a food stand that has honey sticks, I get Cozy honey sticks, and then also she gets herself honey sticks. She loves honey sticks, everyone. She's turned as white as a bowl of rice again. Sholmes must be right. He's hit the nail on the head.
This young woman's friend killed Mr. Asagi?
Ha! He can't talk. Looks like he can't speak with that snake coiled around his head. We mean the libel. It's bussin'. They're good. It's a compliment.
I would advise as little movement as possible, Seaman. You wouldn't want the fangs of that long friend in your neck. So, everyone, let us begin. Herlock Sholmes is proud to present his logic and reasoning spectacular.
Woo! The great deduction. The game is afoot. They just look like little sticks. They're like little. It's like an ice pop, but like smaller. My parents would know who drained the honey bottle. Oh no.
Ms. Pavlova, moments ago, you claimed the following. His death is nothing to do with me. The whole thing is nothing to do with me. Yet you cannot deceive yourself. Yes, when you recall those horrid events, your aching heart smarts with pain.
What? I love him.
And it is that very pain that evidences your inextricable link to the victim's death. So, we ask, what was the nature of this intruder that stole into the victim's cabin on that portentous night? Why, naturally, it was the friend in which you boarded this vessel, was it not? Ah, as I suspected, another telltale glance. Without doubt, your friend is the writhing serpent we see before us.
I just realized that his necktie is a little fish. Are they all like that? They're just little fish? That's fun.
And yet, the fact leaves us in a quandary. The victim's written observations on the night in question tell of a speckled bag.
Thank you, Cozy. Good luck with work.
Whereas, regrettably, this specimen's markings do not fit that description in any way. He's so, like, close to him. What explanation can we give, pray? Tell. What is this sight that fell upon the victim's eyes last night? Oh.
No, don't look at me. This has nothing to do with any of this.
Oh, but it does. You have to answer to the quandary even now, hidden behind your back. Yes, that which you are trying, but failing to conceal, can only be the snake's slowed skin. Evidently, even the subtle and horrid, after the subtle and horrible crime, this most deadly friend of yours shed its original skin. No?
I don't know what you are talking about.
Woohoo! Last night, through the ventilator visible in this cabin, your then speckled friend slithered next door. Using the bell cord on the other side as a bridge, the serpent silently descended into the victim's quarters. In the dim light, it appeared to the young gentleman who was about to lose his life as a speckled band. In summary, the nature of this friend of yours, which last night infiltrated the scene of the crime, is a rare breed of snake whose markings change with every time it slows its skin. A snake so dreadful we can only imagine it would be found in the deepest depths of India. Moving on, we come to the heart of this matter, the grim demise of the victim. How did this young man lose his life, and why? According to the data in which I have been apprised, it would appear there were no visible signs of injury. In fact, the circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by a terrible venom. Well, we know that's not true. We immediately know that's not true. Now, if we take that as fact, we can reasonably imagine that there remains evidence to affirm it at the scene of the crime.
Oh no, could there be?
Yes, an examination of the deceased body will prove the cause of death conclusively. He doesn't know that we have that. The almost, but not quite, imperceptible puncture left by the venomous fangs will seal the truth. Yes, the vestiges of the snake bite. Blah, 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 blah. The vestiges of the snake bite delivered by your terrifying friend.
This makes no sense.
There is no point feigning ignorance, Ms. Pavlova. After the incident, you endeavored to hide everything, didn't you? But now your involuntary glance betrays the hiding place you chose. That's right, you hid the evidence that links you to the victim's death in that traveling case. When we first met in this cabin, it came to my attention that your case moved periodically. Your serpent assassin was restless inside, no doubt.
You don't...
It is telling that the victim made a note of a low whistling sound that he heard minutes before its end. That was your signal, was it not? The sound you had used to train your serpent friend.
To train?
Indeed, you'd put the Oh, the whistle. I was like, what was that? Indeed, you'd put the serpent through this ventilator and wait. After a period, you'd summon it back with a whistle. You couldn't know if the animal had done its duty, so you would listen for signs of life next door. If the victim appeared to have not been dispatched, you'd release the snake once more. Do you deny the snake has undergone such training?
It's not true.
Having slithered through the ventilator and down the bell cord, the creature needed only to sink its fangs in once. And its venom would course through the victim's veins, ending his existence forever. That is the true nature of the speckled band that took the young poor man's life. There can be no doubt my logic is infallible.
Death by a venomous snake's bite. Alright, Mr. Sholmes.
Thus concludes Sherlock Sholmes' great deduction of the speckled band.
He loves a show. He loves it. He cannot get enough. Yeah, they're all little fish, the neckties.
Miss Pavlova has trained her pet snake as a killing machine. There on the floor, you will observe a saucer of milk. The promise of food is the key to training any creature.
I know that my snake loves milk very much. Incredible. You've solved the mystery.
Amazing, your great deduction really lives up to its name. I see now why Sherlock Sholmes has become such a household name. My dear man, it was nothing remarkable, as the Russians say. I could have done it with one left hand.
Could I venture an option, Mr. Sholmes? An opinion?
But of course, what's on your mind?
It's just about your deductions before. Some things don't quite make sense to me.
I welcome questions as to my method, and will answer both loudly and proudly.
Oh, well, good. First of all, snakes are egg-laying creatures, part of the reptile family.
You are well informed, madam.
And reptiles, don't drink milk.
Ah.
It's really only mammals that like to drink milk, you see. So, I'm not sure it would be possible to train a snake using milk as a reward.
No matter. No doubt Miss Pavlova used some other treat to encourage her pet to do her bidding. Milk is merely an example. The logic holds.
Well, there is something else. Snakes have no ears.
Ah.
Yes, so I'm not sure it would really be possible to signal a snake by whistling.
But madam, what of the tales from Arabia? Have you not heard of the snakes that dance to the sounds of a flute?
I think perhaps the performers play their music in time with the snake's natural movements.
Oh, I see. No hands, no feet, no ears? These creatures are so inept to be practically useless.
Don't take it out on the snakes, Mr. Sholmes. He's big Angie.
There is one other thing.
You have more?
Snakes use the scales on their bellies to propel themselves. So, I'm not really sure that a snake could manage to climb up a flat bell cord like the ones in these cabins.
Then it should try harder.
Please, don't be angry with me, Mr. Sholmes. The point is, even if that snake had gone through the ventilator to the next door cabin, it couldn't have come back without help. What I'm trying to say is that there are a number of reasons why it's difficult to imagine the snake could have had a part in this.
He's so sad. Oh no.
I think we need to step in and help again, Mr. Naruto.
Oh no, you don't mean...
Yes, we need to modify Mr. Sholmes' latest deductions and turn them into the great ones they ought to be.
I had a feeling that was coming. Alright, let's give it a try.
Just what I was waiting for, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, right.
Whoa! So cast your eyes down to your wrist again.
What? You've done it again.
Your handcuffs are gone.
Where did they go? Where did they go? Fear not, I shall see that they're restored after our work is done.
I really wish you'd just leave them off.
They didn't want to animate two things. Now, everyone, let us begin. Sherlock Sholmes is proud to present his logic and reasoning spectacular. Yeah!
Course correction. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Alright, let's fix your crap, bud.
Ms. Pavlova, moments ago, you claimed the following. Death has nothing to do with me. The whole thing has nothing to do with me. Yet you cannot deceive yourself. Yes, when you recall those horrid events, your aching heart smarts with pain. She's grabbing her wrist.
She does have a pained expression on her face.
Yes, that's true. She looks as though Kazuma-sama's death is weighing heavily on her mind.
But you're not sure Mr. Sholmes has read her quite correctly, is that it? Could there be some other way to interpret her expression then?
Let's take a moment. Really look closely at Ms. Pavlova.
Yeah, oh, there. Claw scratch!
Yes! Yes!
Boom, baby! Ow! Yes, when you recall those horrid events, that claw scratch smarts with pain.
Indeed, and simple observation reveals that the wound is fresh.
Ms. Pavlova, did you... Oh, Ms. Pavlova, did you in fact receive that scratch sometime last night? Ah! When I try to think about the young man who died next door, I feel so sad. And when I am sad, the pain from this wound is worse.
And it is that very pain that evidences your inextricable link to the victim's death. So we ask, what was the nature of this intruder that stole into the victim's cabin on that portentous night? Why, naturally, it was the friend in which you have boarded this vessel, was it not? Ah, as I suspected, another telltale glance. Without doubt, your friend is the writhing serpent we see before us.
It seems likely that the scratch mark on the back of Miss Pavlova's hand was made by this friend of hers, doesn't it? Except, snakes don't have claws, do they?
No, they don't. They don't even have hands or feet on which claws might grow.
Well then, that snake isn't her pet. What is? What's the true identity of this friend of hers?
We should follow her gaze, Naruhodo-san. That's where we'll find the answer!
Oh. There's a cat on this picture. Oh my god. There's a kitty cat with a bell on it also. Look at the photograph in this frame. This must be something Miss Pavlova brought with her when she ran away.
That's a cute cat.
She's exceptionally beautiful, isn't she?
Yes, that's true, but personally, it's a little black creature she's holding that caught my eye. Maybe we'd better take a closer look at this. It's a little kitten.
Yes!
Yes! Little kitten, baby! Without doubt, your friend is the little kitten we see before us.
Yes, the scratch on the back of your hand makes that abundantly clear. I love that he's just like, yeah, that's right. Every time.
Bye-bye.
He's just like, yeah, that's what I said.
That's what I meant. Oh, no. Woo! The whereabouts of this black kitten isn't clear, but what is clear is that you brought an animal with you when you ran away, didn't you?
Ah!
The game tricked us all. It gave us the old bait and switch.
Darka is my best. Come on, Darka is my best friend. Wouldn't leave her behind.
Darka would appear to be a Russian blue. I used to have a Russian blue.
Long ago.
And yet, that fact leaves us in a quandary. Russian blues are also gray. They're not black. So that's weird. The victims, they just, because it's a Russian cat, they just called it a Russian blue. The victim's written observations on the night in question tell of a speckled band. Whereas, regrettably,
Woo!
this specimen's markings do not fit that description in any way. What explanation can we give, pray? What was the sight that fell upon the victim's eyes that night?
No, don't look at me. This has nothing to do with any of this.
Oh, but it does. You have the answer to this quandary even now, hidden behind your back. Yes, that is which you are carrying, but failing to conceal, can be the snake's slowed skin. No!
Did you see that? She just took something out of her pocket and hid it behind her back.
She just left it in her pocket. No one would have ever known.
Oh yes, ploys like that are Mr. Sholmes' specialty. He's ever so cleverly forced her to reveal something.
I thought deduction was his specialty. Or maybe making me believe that it was a ploy too.
I find it hard to believe that the skin of a snake.
In which case, so what is Ms. Pavlova hiding behind her back? Let's it's like a cat toy. Well, it is speckled and this is a band, but what is it? Seems to be soft and fluffy, a long piece of cloth of some sort. And that looks like a handle at one end. I think it may be a cat's toy.
I think it may be a cat's toy. This sort is common in the West, apparently.
How is that a toy for cats?
Cats like to chase the band around and paw at it. Kittens in particular love that sort of play. You only need to wave it in front of them, and they pounce to catch it.
Haha, that sounds positively adorable. Let's, it's a cat's toy.
Yes.
Mad Max, hello. I'm doing great. We're solving crimes. How are you? Yes, the thing you were trying but failing to conceal is, a cat's toy. Precisely, the true nature of the now infamous speckled band.
Ah.
And it was this toy that you dangled through the ventilator. You waved it around, I presume. Naturally, the victim could not fail to notice it.
But why? For what reason?
My dear boy, there can be only one answer to that. After her feline friend disappeared through the ventilator into the neighboring cabin, Miss Pavlova attempted to use the speckled cat's toy to incite the creature to return.
Ah.
In summary, the nature of this friend of Ms. Pavlova's, which last night infiltrated the scene of the crime, is a blithesome Russian blue breed of cat by the name of Darka.
Yeah!
A truly troublesome feline. Young Darka is proving to be. She must be caged once found. You will forgive us for borrowing the photograph of your pet, Ms. Pavlova. The photograph is in the court record.
It was after I gave her food last night. That's when it happened. She scratched the back of my hand and then ran up the bell cord. Before I could do anything, she had disappeared through the ventilator. Darka, she is so naughty.
We solved part 1. Let's go, baby. Moving on, we come to the heart of the matter, the grim demise of the victim. How did this young man lose his life, and why? According to the data of which I have been appraised, it would appear there were no visible signs of injury.
Ah.
In fact, the circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by a terrible venom.
Mr. Sholmes says is true. There were no signs of a wound anywhere on Kazuma-sama's body.
That's right. But Mr. Sholmes seems to be unaware of one important detail. Kazuma wasn't poisoned.
Yes, it would seem so. Let's give him the information he's missing now.
Bum, ba, 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 bum, bum, bum. The post-mortem report.
Yes!
Yes! It's so fun, because the yes is so dumb-sounding. Oh! In fact, the circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by the post-mortem report. Look at his sassy little smirk. Are you kidding me? He's like, yeah, screw you, Sholmes. I'm the one with the information. Ah, yes, I knew it was one or the other. Stop.
His neck was...
Indeed, the breaking of the cervical vertebrae is fatal. Only that Goliath would be strong enough to survive that.
Seems Stroganoff isn't some immortal freak, you know.
The jury is out. Anyway, we have to on good authority that the victim's neck was broken. I am the true detective, Sholmes. Now, if we take that as fact, we can reasonably imagine that there remains evidence to affirm it at the scene of the crime.
Oh no, could there be?
Yes, an examination of the deceased body will prove the cause of death conclusively.
Kazuma died because his neck was broken. In other words, he was probably struck by something, or someone. Yes, that's a distinct possibility. As of yet, no weapon has been found, though.
Presumably, Darka didn't silently creep up behind Kazuma and deal him a fatal blow.
I suppose. It's possible that he had a fall and hit the ground awkwardly. It could have been a terrible act of misfortune that he broke his neck completely by accident.
Oh yes, a bad fall could explain that.
It's rather hard to believe that Kazuma-sama, though. He wasn't a clumsy man.
Well, we need to fix this deduction somehow. Is there anything from the scene that could explain what happened? I mean...
Yes! Yes!
Mark on the floor. Yes, an examination of the mark on the floor will prove the cause of death conclusively. This particular mark, so prominently visible next to the victim's body, is a deposit of shoe polish. Shoe polish? Indeed, positively identified by a little analysis device I constructed, which I carry now as a matter of course. Beeswax, tallow, and dye were my results, the undeniable ingredients of shoe polish.
Mind your beeswax.
And the color of the polish is a perfect match to the color of Mr. Asagi's laced leather shoes. Ah! Wait. Readjust my seating. Looking at this mark, it's not hard to imagine what happened. For some reason, Mr. Asagi must have caught his foot on that point on the floor and tripped.
Please, no.
And by a dreadful turn of misfortune, caught his neck against some immovable object as he fell to the floor. Suffering a fatal blow to the spine, the victim's vertebrae shattered, and in that instant, he lost his life.
No. I don't know. I don't know anything about this.
Is that really true, Miss Pavlova? What about the evidence left at the scene where Mr. Asagi lost his life?
Yes, the facts are as clear as day to me. You did all you could to conceal the incriminating evidence. But now your involuntary glance betrays the hiding place you chose.
Oh! Lord Snack, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Mew crew. There's a snake in this game. How are you?
I don't believe it. Kazuma-sama merely tripped over and now he's no more? It can't be true. I refuse to accept it.
I know it's hard to believe, but the mark on the floor does seem to suggest what's happened. That's what happened.
But...
And if this part of Mr. Sholmes' deduction is right, Miss Pavlova is trying to hide some evidence that would prove it. Here in this cabin, somewhere in the direction that she just cast her eyes.
Where, I wonder?
Let's have a good look around. The answer must be here. Is it the crown?
Yes! Yes!
Oh! That wasn't it. Tried to have the evidence in plain sight.
It's the tiara.
Uh-oh.
It's wrong. Deduction was wanting in every way.
Yes, I was wanting you to hear it. I'm quite proud of it.
I find myself wanting never to have heard it. I'm quite pained by it, in fact.
Oh, sorry.
Try again.
Okay, wait. Oh, is it? What could it be now? Maybe we need to look in here. Waste paper basket. I feel like we looked in this. Oh! Oh, what's that?
It's a broken piece of glass, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I feel like I've seen it somewhere before.
It looks familiar. Perhaps it's more than your mind simply playing tricks on you. Yes! Yes!
Boom! That's right. You hid the evidence that links you to the victim's death in that waste paper basket.
Ah!
Here we have a fragment of some intricate glass object, it would seem. One that has a familiar air, in fact.
Precisely. We found another piece of the broken glass on the floor in Mr. Asagi's cabin. And as you can see, the two pieces fit perfectly together.
Oh no.
So, Ms. Pavlova, shall we consider what this tells us? Why would it be that part of this glass object, which was evidently broken at the scene of the victim's death, should be found in the wastepaper basket in your cabin?
Yeah.
You're well acquainted with this glass bell, are you not?
I don't.
I don't know, and that hushed Russian accent of yours won't save you this time, dear girl. Why? Because we have conclusive evidence linking you to the bell in question.
What?
Take it away, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes. Star, hello.
Evidence linking is the picture. It's the photograph. Present.
Yes! Yes!
If you look at this photograph, you can clearly see, hanging from Darka's collar, the very glass bell in question. Hydrate, alright.
Oh, thank you.
Ow!
The truth is caught up with you, Ms. Pavlova. The young man who lost his life last night did so after a truly inauspicious fall.
And the cause of that fateful stumble?
Oh! Wow! Your absent feline friend, Darka.
Ah!
I couldn't tell anyone. I'm sorry. Gotcha, baby, baby. Death by tripping over a cat. That's tragic.
Deduction complete. Elementary.
Boo, 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 boo.
Hell yeah, baby.
Why don't you tell us now, Ms. Pavlova? Tell us exactly what happened last night.
It was a little after 1 in the morning. I was so late, but I hadn't had time to feed Darka, so I gave her some food. And then, all of a sudden, she scratched me and jumped out of my hands.
People do say that cats become very anxious and nervous in new environments.
She was so fast. She disappeared through the ventilator before I could stop her.
And that is how you acquired the rather nasty wound on the back of your hand, I take it?
Yes. And I had read the, rules on the wall. I knew that I was not allowed to have Darka with me.
Yes, modern science suggests that animals can carry infectious diseases. It's a precaution, really.
So I listened and listened, trying to hear if there was some noise in the next cabin.
It was very... excuse me.
It was very quiet. I was sure if someone was there, he must be sleeping.
So at that point,
you thought it safe to try and lure the kitten back again. By dangling the end of the toy through the ventilator and into the adjoining cabin.
Darka always loves this toy, but it didn't work. Nothing worked. I tried using her favorite toy. I tried whistling to her softly, but nothing. She didn't return.
So the faint whistling sound Cosimo wrote about in his diary was Ms. Pavlova trying to retrieve her pet.
Cats do have a propensity to remain hidden in the shadows when frightened.
Yes, so there was nothing else I could do. I just had to wait until she had calmed down. But then...
Meow! Thud.
I nearly passed out with shock. I heard her cry out, and then... Oh, it was such a dreadful bang. Then afterwards, nothing. It was totally silent. Cosimo was.
From the appearance of the brown mark on the floor, it seems likely that what you heard was the victim stepping on the glass bell and tripping up. The SS Buria is quite a large vessel, but even she can pitch and roll violently without warning. Mr. Asagi was already off balance as a result of the ship lurching when the kitten got under his feet. A combination of unfortunate factors could have easily caused him to fall over. what became of the kitten afterwards?
In the end, I managed to get her to come back through the ventilator.
Yet Doc is nowhere to be seen.
I must have forgotten to lock my case. And now she's...
Hi, Fern. How are you?
And now she's disappeared again.
Gracious, that cat is as insufferably restless as I am.
How are you?
Well, he knows something about himself, at least. Ah! When I woke up this morning, I heard that a young man in the cabin next to me and to mine had died. But I couldn't bring myself to tell anyone what had happened.
Doing all right?
Hell yeah! Hell yeah! I was too scared. Scared that they would send me back.
Oh, hold on a minute. What about the snake?
You're right. Where is it?
The snake isn't your friend, Ms. Pavlova. Then whose is it, and where did it come from? What on earth is such a dangerous creature doing aboard this ship? Oh, it's his friend.
Oh, I didn't say. Snake is my friend. His name is Pirosko.
Is that a pun?
Pirosko.
What?
What? That snake belongs to you? He escaped from cage when emergency alarm sounded. I was looking for him. I did not expect to find him in here.
Yes, how did that snake get into this cabin?
But, animals are not permitted on board. Ha! We are at sea for 1 year! You want to be so long without close friend, without someone who understands?
Couldn't you find someone a little more human who understands you better?
But my dear burly fellow, a gargantuan venomous snake? Surely you can appreciate the danger you're putting everyone in.
I'm doing great. We are cracking this case, Fern. Wide open, but there's a snake. No venom. And that's Sherlock Holmes, I mean Herlock Sholmes, and he's a himbo.
Brosco does not have venom. He is harmless, very long but very gentle. He is adorable like Granny.
It's venomless? Yeah, Hosonaga got beat up by the captain.
Yes, now he is hungry, so he is in bad mood. But once I feed him, you will see big smile.
And you feed him what? Milk, I suppose?
Ah, like they say milk chickens? Ridiculous. Snakes that drink milk are only in stupid stories. Roscoe eats mouses, big fat round mouses.
Ah, oh, so... Is that what the mousetrap in the passageway out there is for?
Of course. How else can I catch my friend's favorite food?
Nothing says top of the food chain like the look in their eyes right now. Oh my god. Refuses to drink milk, it can't hear a whistle, it can't climb up a bell cord, and it's not even venomous? How the deuce did something so inept land a starring role?
It's not my fault, I do not make up stories. My Perosco has nothing to do with this incident.
So that's what happened. That's the truth behind my best friend's tragic death. What about all those loose ends?
Miss Pavlova!
Yeah, he's... Herlock Sholmes was like, hey, that snake's drinking milk. And then everyone's like, they don't do that, though. And he was like, what? I hope it didn't eat the kitten. Yeah, no, for sure.
I understand the difficult situation you found yourself in, and I do sympathize. Please remember this. A young man lost his life. If you're going to attempt to cover up your guilt with lies, then no matter what the circumstances, I cannot forgive you.
But what are you talking about, Ms. Mikitopa? What lies? Well, Ms. Pavlova's just confessed everything.
was just a series of unfortunate events, an accident.
I'm no great detective like Mr. Sholmes. I don't have a gift for knowing the truth. But even I can see that was not the truth. Don't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo?
Yeah. To be perfectly honest, yes. There's a discrepancy in Ms. Pavlova's story, I'm sure of it. I just can't quite put my finger on it. Finger? Writing? I confess. I was intending to let Scotland Yard deal with any outstanding issues on this matter.
Oh.
I am only present here for a very specific reason. The truth is, you, Mr. Naruhodo, are simply a distraction.
A distraction?
Mason, hello!
I do hope you've not been finding your shackles too uncomfortable. He put them back on.
Ah, not again. When did he do that?
Especially as they're on your wrist as a result of my intervention. I was rather hoping I could resolve matters before we made our next port call.
You were, Mr. Sholmes?
Yes, but I overlooked one important detail. The deceased young man was a very close companion of yours. Was he not? We're just friends.
Yes, Kazuma was my closest friend. I owed him my freedom, even.
In that case, we must follow this to its conclusion. No further distractions. You must uncover the real truth here, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, whatever they may be. The key to this is the discrepancy in Ms. Pavlova's story, I'm sure. If I can chase that down, maybe the truth will become clear. The truth about how you really died. About how that scene in your cabin really came to be. Alright, I'll see what I can do.
Excellent.
Thank you, Mr. Naruhodo.
So then, shall we begin?
Yes!
What we should ponder first is the victim who lost his life in a cabin that was bolted shut from the inside. Was this truly an unfortunate accident? Or was it in fact no accident at all? That was what we must establish in the first place. In the first instance. But we've also already established it, haven't we? Oh wait, that was Hosonaga. We've already established it. The man tripped over the kitten that had climbed into his cabin via the ventilator. Tragic, yes, but still an accident. Hold it!
Hold it.
Wait, let's just take a step back. Doesn't make sense that if that's really what happened, does it?
I'm going to have to ask you to spell it out for me, I'm afraid.
Yes, it's starting to take shape now. There's a clear contradiction between the facts and Ms. Pavlova's story here. The evidence is right there in Kazuma's cabin. It's undeniable. His death couldn't possibly have been a mere accident.
Really? Let us show our hand, Mr. Naruhodo. Time to present the evidence. Evidence that proves unequivocally that the victim's death was no mere accident.
I mean... It's probably the writing. But... We'll do the writing. I think it's the writing.
Yes!
Yes! The truth is clearly recorded in this photographic print. There's no way that Mr. Asaki could have left this message on the floor.
That script, it's Russian, isn't it? Indeed it is. The word written means wardrobe. I see what you mean. Most people would leave a dying message in their native language, Japanese in this case.
But maybe he was studying Russian.
It is a simple language.
I don't know about that.
He could have picked it up very fast. Doesn't seem likely. That's actually not the point. It makes no difference whether he knew Russian or not.
Sorry, what do you mean? He died instantly.
Exactly what I said before. There is no way that Mr. Asaki could have left this message on the floor. And the reason why is clearly explained in here. Damage to the cervical vertebrae resulting in instant death. Instant death. Ah. Which means after the victim fell to the floor, he couldn't possibly have written anything. Because he was already dead. Ah! Oh my god, chat.
It's not the only reason either. There's something else we found in Mr. Asagi's cabin. A remnant of something that couldn't possibly have been there, if what Miss Pavlova told us was true.
What?
So Sasato-san noticed it too then.
Putting this message on the floor aside, there's something else that gives it the truth away. Another piece of evidence that proves this is no accident. In other words... What was it? The bell? No accident. Yeah, I don't really understand. Oh, well, because I think it's the bell because we found the other half of the bell in the garbage. Like, why didn't they just take the whole thing? I guess?
Yes! Yes!
Yeah, okay.
This piece of broken glass next to the mark on the floor.
But that's the glass bell the kitten had around its neck. We already know all about that. It was broken in half when the victim tripped over the cat and fell. So we already have a satisfactory explanation. Where's the flaw in the logic?
Unfortunately, there's a very big flaw, a fatal flaw.
What?
If that's really what happened, then how did one half of the bell end up back here in this cabin?
Ah.
Yes, remember when we found the other half of the glass bell in that waste paper basket?
What did I miss? B, hello. A lot. I'm sorry. Like a lot.
Would you care to explain that, Miss Pavlova? Oh, no.
Both these pieces of evidence clearly point to the same conclusion. How are you, B?
That when Mr. Asagi died last night in his cabin, there was someone else in the room. And that same person deliberately arranged the scene to disguise the truth in order to cover up his or her own guilt. Yeah! Yes, there was someone else present in Mr. Asagi's...
You are wasting time! Someone else was there? Duh, of course, we know this.
What are you talking about?
Bulkhead was bolted shut from inside. There was no way in or out.
Oh, yes. But we know the truth about that.
And only one other person in cabin when young student died. Was you.
Yes! Yes!
It's such a pitiful, weird little yes. I don't know.
It's true. I was in the cabin when it happened.
You were shut inside the cabin wardrobe, to be precise about the details.
But I don't know Russian. There's no way I could have left that message.
Not would have. There's no way you could have left that message, to be precise about the details. It's not the snake. That's his snake. She had a cat in the case. That's this guy's pet snake.
Would you mind?
Forgive me, my dear fellow. Oh, he said, would you mind?
As I was saying, the person in question wrote the word wardrobe in Russian on the floor.
Yeah, we got bait and switch to be... her cat got in here, and the speckled band was like a cat toy. And now we're trying to... So they were like, oh, it's an accident. And now we're like, nah, it's not an accident, actually. There's a lot of loose threads.
In an attempt to incriminate me for the crime, even though I had been asleep in there the entire time. And then, the same person picked up the broken glass bell that had fallen to the floor, for fear of it becoming evidence that would show how Mr. Asagi really died.
But why wouldn't this person have taken all the pieces of the bell away? Leaving half behind was always going to raise questions.
Yes, well,
It was past 1 o'clock in the early hours of the morning. The cabin would have been quite dark. Single small lamp suspended from the ceiling would have barely cast any light on the floor there. Little wonder, then, that the culprit failed to notice a fragment of the tiny item. Is it ever an accident? Not in these games.
You all suspect me, don't you?
He's so intense.
Seaman Stroganoff,
His name is Beef Stroganoff. Biff Stroganoff.
Nina is woman of sea. She is daughter of strong sailor. 2 years ago, they noticed her dancing skills and they went away to join ballet company. But before, she was dancer on this ship, a member of the ship's band. Do not accuse a ship's angel of being criminal.
Ah, so that's it.
You say that when young student died, Nina was there in his cabin? But that is not possible. I give my tooth.
Well, that is all most interesting. And why would you give your tooth, pray? How can you be so sure?
You are a great detective. You should know. Look truth in eyes. Cabin bulkhead was bolted shut from inside. Nobody could go into cabin. Not Nina, not anyone. Or you want to tell me that killer can walk through locked doors? Niet. It is impossible.
Ah, he's right. But wait! I've read about this in detective stories. People often tie threads around door latches so they can open and close them from the outside.
Thread? Are you stupid? These bulkheads are not barn doors.
Certainly not. These are watertight doors, as one would expect to find on any modern steamship. Constructed of heavy steel with not a gap in sight, no threads or needles or magnets could have been used.
No, of course not. I thought so too. Mr. Naruhodo suggested it earlier, so...
Sato-san, how could you shift it onto me like that? So, Seaman Stroganov has a valid point. The cabin door couldn't have been bolted shut from the outside. Not necessarily.
What?
I put it to you that I could bolt this cabin door without laying a finger on it. And in this very cabin, we can see the traces of the method I have in mind being used before.
I don't believe it.
Well, Mr. Naruhodo, I believe you know what I mean, don't you?
Way to shut the bolt from the cabin door from the outside? One way does spring to mind, yes. Do you really know what Mr. Sholmes means, Mr. Naruhodo?
Yes, and so should you. Because we've seen it happen. Indeed we have, so would you care to do the honors, Mr. Naruhodo? Point out the telling signs of the method that was used to slide the cabin door across from the outside. It's this shit right here. Wait. What? Wait a minute. Well, oh, is it just, it's just all of this?
Yes!
Okay, sure. Look at the bookcase there. Is the alarm auto-lock doors? Not exactly. It's just that the ship is shifting, you see. So it like lurches forward. See how all the books and things on it have toppled over?
That must have happened when the ship made its emergency stop before.
I never started Ace Attorney. It's not too late, baby. Yes, that's right. It's a very powerful vessel, after all. When the engines are thrown into reverse, a violent jolt goes across the entire ship. Any small objects that aren't fastened down are bound to fall over.
I believe... Yes, it's what's known as the force of inertia acting upon the objects.
Holmes really looked at Renosuke and said, this kid is prime suspect in the murder, but he's pretty observant. Is there nothing Susato-san doesn't know? Or that isn't in her new book, anyway. Well, whatever. Whatever it's called. The same force that pushed over those books on the bookcase also made something else in this cabin move. The bolt on the cabin door. It was very obvious after the emergency stop that the ship made earlier. We had come into this cabin not long before, and we hadn't bolted the door. But then... Hello, is anyone in there? Shout if you need assistance. Oh, that sounds like...
Inspector Ozanaga! Oh, yes! That's it! When the ship stopped suddenly, the bolt flew across and locked the door.
Yes, it's made of metal, but it's small and light enough to be moved by the ship's sudden change of speed. Or the force of ineptia, if you want to call it that. Are you trying to say that last night, after Mr. Asugi was killed... Yeah! They do say that.
The SS Burya made another...
The SS Burya made another emergency stop?
When I woke up this morning and looked around the cabin, I thought it looked a little odd. All the books on the shelves had toppled over, and all the ornaments.
Posture check, thank you.
It was almost as if someone had run their hand across the shelves and deliberately knocked everything over. Oh yes, I remember that. And I stood them all up again, didn't I?
But when we came into this cabin, we were surprised to see the same thing in here. All the books and everything had toppled over, just like in Mr. Asagi's cabin.
Oh my!
Do you have anything to say about this, Miss Pavlova? Are you out of your mind? You say Burya made emergency stop. Does seem a little far-fetched. How could that possibly have happened? Unless you're saying that the culprit is actually someone from the engine room. Oh, it is simple enough. Are you forgetting the button in the passageway outside? Used to trigger the emergency alarm?
Oh yes, of course. There was a notice, wasn't there, telling you to only press the button in times of emergency.
On dark nights when the fog is dense, the captain cannot afford to rely on the eyes of his lookout alone. I love this himbo boy. Hence the placement of a number of buttons around the vessel to allow any crewman to raise the alarm. Yeah, he got his marks on the face from the snake. We figured it out. That sort of button one is almost compelled to press to satisfy one's curiosity. Wait, it was you? When the button is pressed, two things happen in the interest of safety. The emergency alarm bell rings and the vessel comes to a complete stop. He did it this second time, as indeed it did a little earlier today.
Mr. Sholmes, surely it wasn't you who...
As I always say, a button has but one purpose in life. To be pressed, whatever the occasion. He sounds almost proud of himself. How dare you mess with ship? I report you to Captain. You are in much trouble now. Now, I'm sure that all can wait till later. Let us not overlook the fact that we have now learnt a valuable lesson. When the vessel makes an emergency stop, the bolts on the cabin doors slide closed. So, what we must now consider...
Yes, it all comes down to one thing now. Last night, after what happened to Mr. Asagi, did the ship make an emergency stop or not?
You are idiots. Burya is huge ship with many passengers. If we make emergency stop even in middle of night, there would be chaos everywhere. What are your thoughts, Mr. Naruhodo?
Well, it's certainly possible that some kind of emergency happened last night. We have evidence to support that idea. Ow!
That was Fern. That one was...
Really? What evidence, Mr. Naruhodo?
No, you're good. Fascinating. Do show us, my good man. What evidence promotes the theory that some emergency gripped this vessel last night? Evidence? Oh, well... It's her. They had to get her.
Yes! Yes!
This... Oh... That's not right? No, what do you mean? Hold on.
I'm really not sure that any evidence exists that can help us here.
Mr. Sato... Hold on. Well, okay, so, but... It's the... Oh. Yeah. Okay, the ship's log. Present.
Yes! Seaman Stroganoff, it's your duty to patrol the first-class area of the ship, isn't that right?
Duh, that is correct. Why?
And the ship's log here, this would be where you record the details of your duties?
What are you doing with that? That is mine!
Ah, yes, you rather carelessly left it atop the little makeshift bureau in the passageway out there. But as a How dare. You fart on Holmes, on Sholmes. But as responsible passengers, we took it into our care with a mind to return it to you later. I left it there on purpose. That is where I put it always.
The point is, looking at what you usually record, it's clear that under normal circumstances, you write the phrase nothing to report every 30 minutes. But from 2 o'clock last night until first light this morning, nothing was recorded at all.
Nothing recorded in the log. That is... Duh, because nothing happened.
But if nothing happened, you would normally write nothing to report, wouldn't you?
Gah. Indeed so, which tells us that shortly after 2 a.m., something happened here aboard the SS Burya. Something sufficiently significant to make you forget to fill in the ship's log, in fact. This game's on sale, buy it! It's good.
Are you suggesting that the ship really did make an emergency stop in the middle of the night?
Stop talking rubbish! If I'm perfectly honest, I find that a little hard to believe myself.
Oh, why?
Well, because if something as major as an emergency stop really had happened, surely all of us would have noticed. $20 is worth it, yeah. But it's like, it's 2 games, like, and they're long. Like, the beginning case was like 5+ hours. And this one's looking to be 6, I think. And then there's, and that's just the first 2 out of 10, at least.
That's very true. Thanks to the emergency stop we experienced earlier, we all know what it feels like now.
I like that the Russian characters are named after food. All of the characters are just named after something.
The ship lurched so violently, and the alarm cell was so loud. I can't imagine that anyone would sleep through that, even if it had happened in the dead of night.
Well, no, that's a good point.
What of the throbbing? Hold on. I'm screenshotting this. I am doing it. I'm gonna go to Twitter right now. Hold on a sec. Hold on just a moment. We're adding this picture to my earlier tweet. This isn't a spoiler. Really? It's fine. Hell yeah. Okay. What did I come back to? What didn't you come back to? Sorry, what do you mean? Your head, man. The throbbing of your head since this morning. We all have suffered with it.
Ah!
Oh, yes, I have had a headache, you're right. In fact, I haven't been feeling myself since I woke up today.
Nor have I. My head has been feeling heavy ever since dawn.
Yes, you've all been afflicted, haven't you? Just as I suspected.
He's right, my head's been throbbing today too. And since eating dinner yesterday evening, everything has felt sort of hazy. I can't really remember anything that happened after I climbed back inside the wardrobe. Then the first thing I noticed this morning was the throbbing pain in my head. I had already been dragged out of the wardrobe and had those handcuffs put on me by that point. Why didn't I wake up when all that was happening to me?
Tell me, Mr. Naruhodo, you boarded this vessel as a stowaway, didn't you?
Oh, well, yes, sorry.
The stowaway class of accommodation doesn't usually include meals. What did you survive on?
Ah, well, Cosimo looked after me. He was always happy to share his meals.
So you enjoyed some of the whole roast chicken dish that was served yesterday evening, I take it?
Yes, in fact, I had all of that. Cosimo wasn't fond of chicken.
Oh, really? So the victim didn't eat any of the chicken at all?
That's right, he didn't touch it. Is that relevant?
My dear fellow, does that not strike you?
Oh, Mr. Sholmes, do you mean to say that there was something wrong with the chicken?
Never ending well. Are you kidding me with that timing? How did you do that? Incredible. I love it. That one was mine. I do.
No, really? Is that really true?
The meal prepared for us for the passengers last night has been tampered with. You've been practicing? Tampered with by the addition of a soporific designed to induce a very deep slumber in those who consume it. A sleeping drug.
Do you mean whoever did this laced every meal with a sleeping drug so no one would notice the ship's emergency stop? Mr. Naruhodo, of course that's not what Mr. Sholmes means. What a far-fetched idea.
Precisely. Lacing every meal of every passenger on board with a soporific drug, I don't know that word, would certainly be impossible. Unless, that is, every single member of the crew was a conspirator. What?
Mr. Sholmes!
Purple. Purple? Hello, off-brand. Offspring.
I'm sorry to say that any more deception in this matter will get you nowhere. If you refuse to talk, there would have to be an inquiry made through the shipping company, of course. And were that to happen, every member of the crew, and the captain himself, would be hauled over the coals for aiding and abetting a renegade.
Where does Snake go?
Please, no more. I will tell everything. Cannot make problems like this for everyone anymore.
These crewmen are your former comrades, I believe.
Yes, but when I decided to run away, I asked them to help me.
We all agreed to help, everyone together. Since she threw away everything, her fame in the ballet, Mother Russia, we wanted to help our angel.
I don't believe it.
The perfect timing. You are right, we put sleeping drug in chicken last night.
Yes, I remember now. I did notice chewing on a lump of something strange and bitter at one point.
Duh, we could not make all drug, how you say, dissolve.
Ow!
I got them protecting her. I don't get why they'd kill them. I guess we'll find out.
Talk about heavy seasoning. At midnight in waters near Shanghai, we brought our angel on board. She was helped by comrade on shore with small fishing boat.
While all the passengers of the SS Burya slept soundly.
Thanks to the almost magical effects of the slumber-inducing potion in their evening meals. Their evening meals had contained.
So if that's what happened, the only people awake on the ship last night were the crew, people who dislike chicken, and the newly boarded passenger, Ms. Pavlova. And that means that it would have been possible for you. You could have used the emergency stop trick to lock Kazuma's cabin door.
But how does that make sense? Surely every cabin door would have ended up locked. In that case, there would have been complete chaos.
Oh, I wouldn't say so.
What?
Ah, of course. Just like us, all the other passengers would have eaten their evening meal of chicken in their cabins. After which they would have been overwhelmed by tiredness because of the sleeping drug.
Quite, and accordingly, all passengers were already in their cabins for the night.
Yes!
Their overwhelming majority of passengers would habitually sleep with their cabin doors bolted anyway. And so not one of them would have found it remarkable to find their door locked in the morning. In summary, in order to fasten the bolt of a single cabin door on the ship, the culprit brought the entire vessel to an emergency stop in the early hours of the morning. Isn't this crazy, B? Everyone? I love it. You have talked long time and said many things. What is point? Point is what I said earlier. There was somebody else present on the scene when the victim lost his life last night. Someone who left a message in Russian on the floor in an attempt to incriminate another. Someone who tried desperately to hide the broken fragments of glass that would reveal the culprit's identity. And someone who abused the ship's emergency stop procedure in order to lock a door. All told, a busy night.
But... I don't know about any of this. I am just a little girl.
You like to speak with your long English words and explain your clever ideas. But I am sailor, and sailors don't listen to long, boring stories we don't believe. Sailors like me, we only trust what we see with our eyes.
A laudable trait. A laudable trait. What?
What?
I am quite of the same disposition, my good man. Observation to me is everything. Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh, yes?
Did you hear it? The accusatory cry of guilt on the wind.
What accusatory cry of guilt? Sorry, what the fuck are you talking about?
Proof of involvement, man, but you can't hear such a call with your ears. No, you must hear it with your eyes, for observation is the basis of all deduction.
What are you talking about?
I believe the time has come. For one final logic and reasoning spectacular to expose the truth. So, Mr. Naruhodo, your assistance, if you please.
With what exactly, Mr. Sholmes?
With observation, my dear fellow, just as I said, of these two... Oh, God. What?
Observation. If you remember, Mr. Naruhodo, we know that somebody tried to fabricate evidence, don't we? By tampering with the scene of Mr. Asagi's death. What we are looking for is some trace of evidence that one of these two was there when it happened.
Precisely. You are delightfully quick to grasp my meaning.
All right, I'll see what I can see. So we're looking for a trace of evidence that shows someone else was there last night when Kazuma died.
Oh, yeah. I had a hard time with this the last time. But he's got an ink stain right here.
Oh, look at this. It's some kind of stain in an unusual place. Yes, you're right. Looks like ink if I'm not mistaken. Ink. And look at the color, too. It's clear where this came from.
Yeah, oh, let's, present, wait. Present!
Yes! Yes!
Yeah! Get broken into glass or whatever. Seaman Stroganoff, you seem to have quite a large purple stain on the back of your white uniform there.
Yes, I don't know where this dirt comes from.
So nothing in particular comes to mind about the stain?
What are you trying to say?
It would appear that the significance of the stain has escaped your attention, Seaman. Allow us to make it plain.
A very large purple stain on the back of Seaman Stroganoff's uniform. And I think that what made it is clear.
Indeed it is. So, Mr. Naruhodo, present the evidence that proves it.
My pleasure. All right, then. The evidence that proves what was on the stain on the back of Seaman Stroganoff's uniform really is...
It's the...
Yes!
Crime scene photograph! Oh!
Yes, it's his photograph, and the ink it shows. That's what caused the stain on your uniform.
Ink?
A rather unusual color of ink, purple. The penny drops at last. Now you see the significance. The Russian word on the floor next to the victim's body was written in purple ink. And the stain on the back of your uniform is ink of exactly the same color. If the ink had been dry, it couldn't possibly have stained your uniform in that way.
Which means you must have been present in the cabin in the moments immediately after the ink was spilled. All right, yes. It was me. I did it. Everything. I arranged everything in dead student's cabin to make it look like a wardrobe man did it. Then I press button to make Burya do emergency stop and bolt cabin door shut. I did everything so no one would suspect our angel.
Biff, please.
Don't worry, Angel. Let me do talking. It was after 1 in the morning. I was on duty patrolling passageway. Then our angel came to me. She was white like sheet.
Biff, please. You must help me.
I went with her. The door to cabin number 1 was open. When I looked inside, I saw student boy on floor. Well, what happened here?
Please, don't tell anyone. My little one. My little furry friend.
Let's call it a cat.
Everything that happened in cabin is like Angel told you.
The kitten escaped through the ventilator into Mr. Oski's cabin. Then he tripped over it and broke his neck when he fell to the floor.
Yes, that is right.
So after the incident when the cat ran away, Ms. Pavlova then visited the cabin next to hers? Only to find its occupant lying lifeless on the floor.
She said she is worried when she heard sound of something falling on floor. That's when she went to look.
No, Angel?
The door was not locked. So she opened to look and you already know what happened after.
There's just one thing. If you wouldn't mind.
What?
You went to Mr. Oski's cabin, Miss Pavlova. Was he already dead? Why?
I already told you. When Nina opened door of student's cabin and looked inside.
I was asking Miss Pavlova.
Well, Ms. Pavlova? Yeah?
Oh. Yes, that is right. I saw him. It was dark and he was wearing black, but... Ow! He was on the floor, not moving. I was scared. I understand, and I believe you.
So is that finally it now? Have we discovered the real truth about Kazuma's death at last? Ah, something very nearly slipped my mind. Oh, Mr. Sholmes. This photograph? Yes, I took it myself, you know. The cause of death was a broken neck. Therefore, the victim died instantly. And the unfortunate incident that precipitated these events, a kitten, on which the victim stumbled. However, if those are the facts, there is one particular area in this photograph that seems to me somewhat unnatural.
What do you mean unnatural?
What are your thoughts on the matter, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, well... Kazuma tripped and fell. By some terrible stroke of bad luck, broke his neck. Part of this photographic print seems unnatural. I mean, he didn't tell us yet that he did this, right? Oh, oops.
Yes!
The writing. This word in Russian clearly wasn't written by Kazuma. So if you're looking for something unnatural, that's the most obvious point. Very true. It is certainly peculiar, but it is not what I meant by unnatural, I'm afraid. That particularly crass detail was orchestrated by the culprit. Oh, wait. I mean to identify another point.
Oh, I see.
Imagine, if you will, losing your footing yourself. In my opinion, if you landed as the victim appears to have done here, it would have been most unnatural. I'm sure you'll reach the same conclusion.
How thoughtful you are, Mr. Sholmes. Thank you for your gentle guidance.
Wait. Yeah, I guess he couldn't have, like, fallen in this position. Do these light up? I mean, I get, like, his neck?
Yes!
It must be... No. What are we looking at here? Piece of advice. Noted crucial point. Okay. Alright. Alright, okay. No! It would have been on his back if he hit his neck. No. We already read... Come on. You landed as the victim has. What of your hands? Oh. Wait, is his fist? Is it a closed fist? Oh, okay. That's gotta be it, I guess.
Yes!
There we go. Alright, if he really fell due to an unfortunate accident, then his fist just doesn't seem quite right. The exact same thought occurred to me. In a fall, one's instinct is to open the palms flat. Yet here we see the victim with his left hand tightly balled into a fist. Almost, you might say, as though he were gripping something. What do you mean? Your hands will be open? Simply that I took the liberty of investigating the victim's fist a short while ago.
You did?
And what, pray, do you imagine I found there, my dear fellow?
Mr. Sholmes, show us!
Why, of course, my dear madam. Why would I keep you in suspense? It's all you've ever done. Oh! This is what I found. No!
Oh, a crescent moon with a little gemstone in the middle.
Yes, you're right. A crescent moon. It's very pretty, but what does it tell us? It tells us nothing. It tells us everything.
I'm not so sure. That crescent moon looks...
It looks familiar somehow. I'm sure I've seen it somewhere before. Where could it have come from? Observation, Mr. Naruhodo. That is the key.
What?
The truth now is tantalizingly close.
How did that crescent moon come to be in Kazuma's clenched fist?
That is the final clue, the last piece of the puzzle. Ask yourself, what does this little crescent moon mean? What significance has it? And observe! Find the answer with your own eyes! Where did the crescent moon come from?
Oh, gee, I don't know.
Where did it come from? Her right ear. Could I please... Could we? Okay.
Yes! Yes! Miss Pavlova, I noticed it on your ear. Even though you have a metal earring, the decorative part of it seems to be missing. The little link holding it on must have broken, I suppose.
What?
But looking at your other ear, I notice a crescent moon.
Ah. I don't believe it. Now, the missing crescent moon was found in the victim's clenched fist. Clearly, there is only one logical conclusion. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo?
Yes.
Miss Pavlova.
Mr. Asaki must have grasped that crescent moon and pulled it from your ear. Perhaps just moments before he fell to the floor. In other words, last night in Mr. Asaki's cabin, you witnessed the moment where the victim fell with your own eyes. In fact, you were quite literally at arm's length from him.
Uh-oh. He knows the truth now.
But then the question is, why did Mr. Asaki do that? Why did he pull your earring from your ear and hold it in his clenched fist during his final moments? Oh, no.
Angel?
No one can protect you now. Please, Miss Pavlova, tell us the truth. Last night, what did you do to Kazuma? Ah! No!
Why'd you keep it on so y'all could catch her?
When I think about everything that happened yesterday, it was too much. Running away, the fishing boat in the middle of the night, trying to climb onto this huge ship. And then, when I was at last in the cabin, and I could relax after this horrible long day.
Meow.
Daka, wait! I couldn't believe it when she disappeared through the ventilator. I tried to call her with a little whistle. I tried waving her favorite toy. But nothing worked. Darka would not come back.
Knock, knock. Bonk. What are you doing here at this time of night, Inspector? This is Kazuma. Oh. I'm sorry. I thought it was a friend of mine.
The young man from your country, he was very polite and kind. He helped me to find Darka and he promised not to tell anyone. But then, when I had my friend in my arms again and I was going to leave the man's cabin.
Just a moment, sorry, but...
Oh, yes?
I'm sure I know your face. I've seen you somewhere before.
Ah!
Ah, of course. You're Nikolita Pavlova, aren't you? The Russian ballerina. Kind of giving him I'm giving him a transatlantic thing.
Huh? No, I don't know that name. My heart nearly stopped when he said that. He knew who I was. How could this man from a land in the faraway east know a Russian ballerina?
Yes, I saw your performance in Japan. The beauty of the ballet made a deep impression on me. But, what are you doing on the ship? I'm sure I read that your ballet company was performing in Shanghai at the moment.
I can't fool him. I have to tell him the truth, and hope he doesn't tell anyone. I have no other choice.
I see. So you've run away.
Please, please keep my secret. Don't tell anyone.
Give me a moment. I could use another opinion here.
He's going to pull that cord. He's going to tell the captain. Why did I think I could trust him? Then it happened. Everything at once. It was only a second, but it felt like forever. Wait, I shouted, and then...
Meow.
Darka jumped out of my arms and down to the young man's feet. And... as he turned around to look at me...
Oh!
I pushed him. I don't even know why. I don't know why I did it. I was just so scared. And... I had to stop him from telling anyone about me.
Ouch, yeah.
And that's when you went to fetch help? From Seaman Stroganoff, who was on duty out in the passageway.
I heard Nina cry out and thud on the floor, so I ran to her. She was standing at cabin door, shaking like a leaf. She looked at me and said, "Help me, Beef. If they find out, I will be... Please, I have nowhere to go."
Be an awful way to die, just so quickly. So you decided to help. And that's when you arranged things in Kazuma's cabin to make it look like I did it. And so that no one would suspect the passenger in the cabin next door.
Yes. I went into cabin and I looked around to make sure there was nothing to show Nina was there. And then I found Stowaway in wardrobe, still sleeping.
Right, that's when he found me. So you worked out a plan to lay the blame on the Stowaway.
I closed wardrobe doors and put back storage paper sign.
Luckily for me, that's the only reason Susato-san started to believe me when I said I was innocent.
I dragged young man's body to good place and used ink that was spilling to write on floor. I wrote Rajapapa, which is so that person who found him would look inside wardrobe to find Stowaway.
And tell me, what of the glass bell? It was by my feet, so I picked it up.
I see.
But it was dark in the cabin. I didn't notice the other half.
Then Angel went back to her cabin and I finished job.
By pressing the emergency alarm button in the passageway?
Yes.
Accordingly, the SS Burya did indeed come to an emergency halt a little after 2 a.m., thus enticing the bolt on the cabin door to slide shut, creating the locked room mystery.
There's still one thing I don't understand, Ms. Pavlova. What? Well, you said that you told Kazuma about the fact that you'd run away from your homeland. And it's because you were worried he was going to tell the captain that you'd pushed him. Isn't that right? Yes. But even if he had pulled the bell cord and called for the captain of the ship, aren't you friends with every member of the crew? Why would that have been a problem? It was what he said first. That made me scared.
What he said first?
What are you doing here at this time of night, Inspector? Oh. I'm sorry, I thought it was a friend of mine.
He said an inspector was his friend.
Ah, yes, meaning me, who was supposed to be acting as his bodyguard.
I thought that if police knew about me, they would arrest me. So before he could pull the bell cord, May I stop you a moment, please, Miss Pavlova? It just doesn't seem to make sense. I mean, was Mr. Asagi really going to pull the bell cord? I don't know. What? What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo?
Well, I'm not Kazuma, so I can't know for certain, but he was a man of his word. If he told you he wouldn't give your secret away, then he wouldn't have done.
No, he was walking over to it. He was going to pull the cord. He was going to make them send me back.
Well, Mr. Naruhodo, the day's work is not done yet. There's one more deduction to make.
What? Another deduction?
Yes, what action was the victim really about to take at that moment?
He was gonna talk to me, Chad, obviously.
Can we determine whether this young man's gaze...
Whether.
That's a typo. Whether this young man's gaze...
What?
No. No, that's not a typo. I'm the wrong one, chat.
Yeah, his gaze was at the wardrobe.
First, consider the victim's location within this cabin.
That's easy. I remember every detail of that room. I mean, yes, I spent quite a lot of time in the wardrobe, but still. That cabin has been my home for this entire voyage.
So this is how the cabin looked last night when Miss Pavlova visited Kazuma-sama?
I think it's just reactionary, Vero. Or V. Yes, that's exactly how it was.
Are you ready then, Mr. Naruhodo?
Yes.
It's a simple gaze that can reveal all manner of truths. And not only that, in order to draw the right conclusion, you can't afford to be out by even a little bit when you're following the gaze to where it lands.
You gotta follow the gaze.
So when he was turned away from Ms. Pavlova, what exactly was Kazuma looking at?
Oh, gee, I don't know. Could it be?
Take that!
Wow! Considering everything that had happened last night, certainly it may have looked as though Kazuma was going to ring the bell cord.
Yes, however, what is directly beside the bell cord, the wardrobe.
The wardrobe? The wardrobe.
I keep making her falsetto. And more importantly, what was inside the wardrobe? The man's great friend. They're just friends. They're just friends. Sleeping soundly.
Ah! Miss Pavlova, please, think back very carefully. What were Mr. Asagi's exact words last night?
Give me a moment. I could use another opinion here.
Another opinion.
Yes, but not from a member of the crew. So they all got drugged by the sleepy chicken. They all had the lean chicken. I just put that together. It's the NyQuil chicken. Everyone ate the NyQuil chicken. No, Mr. Asagi intended to consult his close friend on the matter. To see if between them they might be able to help in some way, no doubt.
Oh no. Sadly, we can't know the truth for certain now. It's too late for that. But I wish you had made sure of what Mr. Ostogi was looking at. Things may have ended very differently if you had.
Ms. Pavlova, I want to thank you for finally admitting the truth. But unfortunately, the truth is, a man lost his life because of what you did, and that will never change. I hope you'll never forget that. I wouldn't be that forgiving.
I'm sorry. Really, I'm so sorry. Wah. Cry about it. What have I done?
So at long last, the mystery surrounding the tragic accident... Oh, this is him. The mystery surrounding the tragic accident of the SS Buria was finally laid to rest. There is no narrator, it's just him. It's just Naruto. What will happen to Miss Pavlova now, then? Once we reach Great Britain, she'll be handed over to the British police at Scotland Yard. What about the fact that she ran away from Russia? Won't the Russians try to... get her back? I don't know what that word is. Apparently, the English detective can speak to the immigration office and sort all that out. Mr. Sholmes can do that? She won't be going back to... So she won't be going back to Russia, then? No, I don't think so. Even if she wanted to return in the future, I doubt she would be able to. She ran away, so now she's in exile for life. I see. I'm sorry. Stephen Stroganoff. I wanted to help our angel no matter what. But I didn't think about you and how you lost a good friend. I will go with Nina. I will give myself to British police. That's kind of you. Oh. In the meantime, thank you for letting me go free again. Kazuma's death feels like such a waste, but... Well, do what you can for Ms. Pavlova, won't you? Duh. Well, I'm afraid you need to pack now. We're due to arrive in Hong Kong tomorrow. As much as it pains me, I'm going to have to hand you over to the council to arrange your passage back to Japan. Yes, I did stow away after all. I couldn't really expect any different. So, you should get back to your cabin now. Yeah, but what if... Instead of that... Looks like my study tour to Great Britain is over before it even begun then. To think that only days ago, Kazuma and I were laughing together about how we'd tear up the streets of London. That seems like a distant memory now. Oh, what's that? Is it someone weeping? Oh, yeah, there's a person in here, bud. Sato-san? Oh, don't kill me with that!
Naruto-san, I didn't know you had returned.
Oh, well, I haven't been back long. Inspector Hosonaga just told me I should pack. You know, ready to leave the ship tomorrow and all that. Oh, she cry.
I still can't believe this has happened. I can't believe someone's life can be over just like that.
Susato-san. Tragic story makes me realize the love that went into this series. It's really, like... It's impressive how much you can, like, give a shit about all these characters, you know what I mean? Like, even the side characters, like, they have so much life in them. Like, we'll probably never see the Stroganoff guy again. But, like, I know a lot about him. He's got a pet snake. He's prideful, you know, whatever.
He had such grand ideas for his visit to Great Britain, so many dreams. And now they've been cruelly taken away. Just like he has. I thought I could never forgive the person responsible. But now we know the truth, that it was just an accident. Just a silly series of mishaps. It's too much, Naruto-san, it's just too much.
Yes, I know. I wish there was something I could say. I think this is him. Nope, okay.
Inspector!
My duty was to see Asogi-san safely to Great Britain. I'm sorry, B.
But I failed, and caused his two closest friends great pain and suffering as a result. You're back from Taco Bell. We're having a sad star. I've let everyone down. I will do anything to make up for my terrible blunder.
Nobody blames you, Inspector. And I'm free again now. Huh?
Ah ha 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 ha! You just got Sholmed!
Goodsling, hello!
Surprise, Mr. Naruhodo?
What is the meaning of this?
Oh, a trifling matter. Simply that in my head I think I shall always picture you wearing those shackles. Without them, the balance seems all wrong. It's distracting.
Sorry?
So I decided to restore them, for old time's sake, shall we say. You are a stowaway, after all.
I love him. And Goodsling, hello!
Ah ha 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 ha!
He thinks this is funny. Mr. Sholmes! We do appreciate all your assistance. I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
No, not at all, not at all. And though it's a little late, may I offer my sincere condolences.
Excuse me.
The loss of your companion is truly heartrending. I hope that you will be able to fulfill some of his aspirations in his honor. I'm afraid that won't be possible. We shall be disembarking at the next port in Hong Kong. We have to return to Japan and make a full report about everything that's happened.
What? Wait a minute. It's just me that has to go back, isn't it? I mean, I was the stowaway.
The terms of the study tour were negotiated by the Department of Justice in both Great Britain and Japan. It was to be one lawyer and one assistant.
Was to be?
In the light of Mr. Asagi's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go on ahead.
Oh no, I don't care for me, but... Poor Sasato-san.
My dear fellows, the majority of problems have an extremely simple solution, you know. All you require is one lawyer and the study tour can continue, surely.
But there is no one else with the necessary qualifications, Mr. Sholmes. We know of no other lawyer.
Qualifications, you say? Any qualifications obtained in your own country will be of little value in Great Britain, I'm afraid.
Oh, but...
But anyway, the voyage to London still promises a good month of time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourselves another suitable lawyer.
Yes. Mrs. Sato? Yes? Do you think perhaps I might be able to do it? Ah!
But you're not a lawyer, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, unless... Are you studying law?
No, I'm not, but...
I'm sorry, in that case, I don't think there's even a chance it could work. But as I said, there is still more than a month before we reach England's shores. It was an accident. Yeah, Gunsling. That's right, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, I have a month in which to study, to learn what I must to become a lawyer in Great Britain. Mr. Naruhodo!
That's ridiculous. Are you seriously suggesting anyone can learn all of that in just 40 days?
There's only one way to find out. I would work my fingers to the bone, Inspector, every single day. Will you let me try it? And if by the time we reach Great Britain I haven't learned enough to be recognized as a lawyer, I'll take whatever punishment is deemed appropriate.
But why put yourself in such a difficult position?
For Kazuma. He said there was something that he had to do in Great Britain, and that he would sacrifice anything to make it happen. And we were just friends. He was passionate about it. I can't let all that passion just come to nothing. And anyway, it's for my own benefit, too. I will become a lawyer. I have to. And so will my kids and all that. What do you say, Mrs. Sato?
Oh.
I think it's a wonderful idea.
Thank you.
What a smile, jeez. So, what does our bespectacled inspector friend say? He fixed his glasses. Are you serious? Just friends, common friends who share many things they are intimately passionate about. And take on their dreams post-mortem. One lawyer and one assistant. The numbers are indisputable. No, 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 it's madness. Yet fascinating, wouldn't you agree? Fascinating? Duty and rules are the dull routine of existence that we all abhor. Give us interest, give us fascination. Speak for yourself. Besides, qualifications are no measure of a man. What matters is his character, no? And you've witnessed ample evidence of this man's exemplary character today with your own eyes. And they were shipmates. From the early hours of this morning until this very moment now. Despite contending with the passing of his close companion and despite the accusation of guilt, this man has shown resourcefulness, intelligence, and above all, courage. Very well. I'll think of a clever way to word my report to the Department of Justice.
Inspector!
After all, I did just make a promise, didn't I? I said that I'd do anything at all to make up for my shortcomings here.
Oh, thank you, Inspector!
If you'll excuse me, I must pay a visit to the captain's quarters, I think. I need to discuss what to do next and how to best make my report.
Are you really prepared to attempt this, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, I'm going to try. I wonder, would you consider teaching me what I need to know? Everything about being a lawyer. I would be delighted to help you. I am a judicial assistant after all. Thank you. And, Mr. Naruhodo, I'd like you to take charge of this. What? Me? Are you sure? I'm sure it's what Kazuma-sama would have wanted. Its name is Karuma. It's a great sword and has been in the Asugi clan for generations. Very well, I accept. I'll treasure it always. It's just a friend. It's a friendly reminder. It's just a friendly reminder. So then, Miss Sasato, it seems we'll be working together for some time to come yet. It will be an honor, Mr. Naruhodo. For the next 40 days, I shan't grant you a single minute of freedom. We shall fill every spare moment with study. Yes, that's exactly what I need. But before we begin, I have an earnest favor to ask you too. Goodness, what is it? Please throw me to the ground. 3 times. What? I should never have doubted you. You were Kazuma-sama's closest friend. Of course, you would never have done anything to hurt him. That should have been obvious to me from the start. But I allowed suspicion to get the better of me.
Oh! What a username. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the View Crew.
And no matter how upset I was feeling, it was completely unforgivable behavior. No, you were in shock.
Listen, I know what this sounds like. She, did a judo throw.
Ah! No, I won't let you make excuses for me. Whatever the circumstances, I should have never thrown you. Not even once, but 5 times!
Ah, the number keeps creeping up, doesn't it?
Please, if you must. Please, you must. Just take hold of me and throw me. Do it! Don't even think about it!
No, I don't even know how. I've never thrown anyone in my life. Very wise, Mr. Naruhodo. It isn't a skill one acquires without considerable training. Lawyer speedrun.
Oh, Mr. Sholmes.
I observed your throwing technique several times with great interest. I confess it was most impressed.
When did you see it?
I presume that would be a form of Japanese wrestling?
Oh, well, in a way, it's not a wrestling, but my own interpretation of an ancient jiu-jitsu technique.
Apparently it's called the Susato takedown. It leaves your head swimming, believe me. How beguiling. I am a practitioner of the combative arts myself. I am a somewhat accomplished boxer. There he goes, dancing around again. I wonder if you'd be so kind as to instruct me on the technique of your arresting throw.
Yes, I'd be honored.
Then let us not dally. Demonstrate, my dear madam.
Oh, of course. Are you ready, Mr. Naruhodo?
Sorry.
Hiya!
Why's it gotta be me?
As you can see, you throw from the abdomen.
Oh, yes, arresting indeed, and that is what you term the Susato takedown, is it?
Actually, no, that was the Susato.
Oh, I missed it. In my groggy state of consciousness, a scene from an evening recently spent with Kazuma flickered into my mind. Oh. Karuma?
That's right. It's a prized sword that's been passed down through generations of the Asagi clan.
I can't believe you managed to get permission to bring it with you. I mean, taking a katana on a study tour is more than a little irregular, surely. Yeah, baby!
Japanese man's sword is his soul, Ryunosuke. I can't be parted from my katana. Karuma guides me. I truly believe that.
So its name compels its wielder to slice evil in two? Not that you would need much compelling.
On that subject, there's something very important that I have to do in Great Britain, and I'll sacrifice anything to make it happen. I'll appreciate you seeing it through with me.
Of course I will. Whatever it is, I'll see it through to the end with you.
Apparently I can't part with those wind generators either. Yeah, I knew you wouldn't let me down. Thank you, partner.
That important thing he had to do. I still don't know what it was. But I'm going to see the place for myself and work it out. In Great Britain's capital, London.
And yeah, we did it. Hell yeah, babies.
Oh. Ooh, baby. Well, hell, heckin', deckin', yeah, babies. I like doing these story games on the weekdays, because usually on the weekends after stream, I have, like, somewhere to be pretty quickly. But lately, well, on the weekdays, I should say, I don't. So if it goes long, I can, like, finish it out, you know? But they've all been shorter, typically. Yeah, it's comfy end time, because I'm not going to start the next story. We will wait. We will resume this next week, Wednesday, 9 a.m. West Coast American time. We'll play Wednesday and Thursday more of the Great Ace Attorney Adventures Chronicles. What is this game called? I don't know. But I just came to lurk. I'm sorry. We're going to find somebody to raid, but in the meantime, I would like to share with you a few links while I go to Twitter. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right, let me here. Let's see. All right. Oh, Batty's on. Let's raid Batty. Haven't seen Batty in a hot little second. Did she just start? Yeah, she just started. Okay, dope. Hell yeah. I don't know what she's up to. But let me share these links again. We have my card. It's a one-stop shop to all things Comfy Catboy. If you want to find me on Twitter or Instagram or like whatever, that's the best place to do it. And then we have the link to the Discord. It's a beautiful place full of lovely people. If you had a good time during the stream and want to extend that good time off of stream, the Discord is a beautiful place to do that. And then last but certainly not least, we have the links to all my YouTube channels. I have 5 different channels. I'm really hoping to upload a new video tomorrow. I'm going to basically be spending the rest of the day working on that. And then, yeah, our raid message, which, how did you do that? How did you do that? You had that ready. Ah! D-Mama, hello. You've thrown stuff at me. We're just leaving. I'm sorry. I love you all to pieces. I should be streaming on Saturday. I didn't make like a proper schedule. I should be streaming on Saturday, the regular time. I don't know if I'm streaming Sunday just yet. I'm not 100% determined on that. But we'll have fun over the weekend. It'll be something silly. I don't know what we're doing yet. I love you all. Have a lovely rest of your day. Have a good Friday. Have a good start to your weekend. I love you. Mwah! We're going to be real cool to Batty. She's the best. Boop, 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 boop.